This is the regular meeting of the Mobile City Council, Tuesday, November 19th. Please stand for our invocation, led by Reverend Charlotte Green, Bethel AME Church, and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let us pray. Gracious and loving Father, once again, we thank you for this another day's journey. We're so grateful that you're our Father and that you hear us when we cry and call. We lift up now these, our leaders, O Heavenly Father, and ask that you will crown them with the wisdom needed, the courage needed to lead our city. We ask right now, Heavenly Father, that as they make discussions, God, that the discussions are not with disrespect, and as they come forth, O God, with disagreements, may the disagreements not dishonor one another. We pray right now for your peace, for your wisdom, for your strength to lead us as a city, the oneness that you're calling us to, God. Make these our leaders, O Heavenly Father. Follow your divine will, that we, O God, will give you glory as a city of Mobile. Now bless us, bless this session, and crown us with your wisdom. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call. President Manzi.
Here.
Vice President Small.
Here.
Councilmember Richardson.
Here.
Councilmember Williams.
Here.
Councilmember Daves.
Here.
Councilmember Rich.
Here.
Councilmember Gregory.
Here.
Statement of rules.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. So good to see each and every one of you. The rules of the council are as follows. First, would ask if you would silence or turn off completely all of your electronic devices upon entering the council meeting. Any person desiring to address the council must sign in indicating a resolution, ordinance, appeal, or public hearing agenda item before entering the meeting. When addressing the council, the speaker must state clearly for the record both your name and your address. Any person desiring to speak on the Mobile City Council meeting must contact the city clerk's office on the Thursday preceding the Tuesday in which you'd like to speak by 2 p.m. The subject matter that you might want to speak on should be pertinent to City of Mobile business. Any person or individual who has not given the proper notice will not be allowed to address the council. Speakers are granted 5 minutes to address the council. A bell will sound to indicate the end of 4 minutes. That will leave 1 minute left for summarizing. The second bell indicates that all of your time has expired. When addressing the council, we ask that there be no personal address to any individual council member. All of your statements, sentiments ought to be made to myself, who serves as chair, and any sub-council member who wishes to respond will have that opportunity. This last one is very important. To maintain decorum, there will be no undue applause and or public outcry allowed. We know that today's meeting is of special and specific interest to several of you who've attended here today. We're going to maintain decorum. If we can't maintain it with the gavel, we have some individuals who can help you in that regard. Our agenda, once we get to it, will be modified to some extent. The issue relative to the proposed annexation items will be taken up first, so that as many of us who can participate in the voting process will have that opportunity. We will take that item up at the very beginning of the meeting. We will hear from 3 individuals who are in favor of this action. Subsequently, we will hear from 3 who are in opposition, who may not be in favor of the proposed annexations. And in addition to those 6 speakers, We will hear from Mayor Michael C. Dow, and we will also hear from former Mayor Samuel L. Jones. At the conclusion of those speakers, we will have any commentary from the council, and then we will proceed with a vote. So there are those who may be disappointed that you won't have the opportunity to speak. You have had opportunity on 2 occasions in this session, 2 council meetings. I don't know how many emails I've gotten, text messages I've gotten. Up until walking into this session, Mr. Shockley Diggs at Noja Restaurant. And so the opportunity to express your sentiments, you have had that, and we're going to allow further by hearing 3 speakers on both sides. And then Mayor Dow, and also from former Mayor Jones. Madam City Clerk.
Mr. President, I have the speakers that the 3 speakers that will speak for annexation. I do not have the 3 that will speak in opposition to annexation. So if there is someone that is leading that charge that knows of the 3 that are going to speak, they did not indicate on the sign-in sheet if they were for or against.
Yes, ma'am. I don't know who's leading that charge. If you're a part of any effort to lead any of that charge, please select 3 speakers. If not, we'll go down the road until we find 3 that are in opposition.
Can you request all of those who are opposed to stand and let that group get together?
I'm not in opposition. Everyone here that's in opposition of the annexation efforts, do you mind raising your hand? Okay. So of those persons who've raised your hands, we need 3 speakers. And you all can work that out amongst yourselves. Thank you.
Approval of minutes of November 14th.
So moved.
Second.
Properly moved and second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Great job as always.
Communications from the mayor.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning to each of you. I appreciate you being here. I know that you'll be, you're excited about what we're doing because this is a huge opportunity for the city of Mobile. I'll make a few open remarks and then it'll be turned over, as President Manzi said. As many of you know, I had a surgical procedure recently. I've been off the grid a little bit. I'm here against doctor's orders, but I'm here with Gene's blessings, which is more important at this stage. You know, for those of you who attended the prayer breakfast, I thank you so much for doing so. And for those of you that didn't, Dr. Foley is in the audience, and I heard that he knocked everybody's socks off with a great mess. So we were tremendously grateful for Dr. Foley. So thank you, Mark. You know, my gratitude for different people extends a long way, and I must say at this point in time that that I'm tremendously grateful to President Manzi. 2 weeks ago, he made a decision to give us 2 weeks to dispute misinformation that's been out there, give us an opportunity to tell facts of the annexation opportunity. During that period of time, he's come under incredible pressure. And so thank you, President Manzi, because where the truth is, the light shines. And so we're certainly appreciative of you for doing that. You know, each of you know that the decision that you will make today and what you're choosing to do may be one of the most pivotal issues of your tenure on this council. You know, this is a watershed moment for the future of Mobile. We can either grow as a community or we can consign ourselves to be on an island which will never grow, whose best days are behind us. We can look at other communities who have followed the same path of isolation, and the result has been one of constant decline. There's no better time to make this decision. I urge all the council to consider the long-term best interest of this great city and make the decision that is best for our children. If I were to break it down to two issues of the utmost importance, one would be public safety. We have an opportunity, what was said a couple of weeks ago, and upon the realization that President Manzi had about the money that was being spent in the police jurisdiction, that several years ago we raised the issue, and tried to convince the city council to let's start pulling that money into the city. All 7 city councilors were kind of giddy with the thought of it until somebody came along and they said, there's a hidden agenda here. That hidden agenda may be that what they're trying to do is just get people stirred up out in the police jurisdiction who want to be part of the city. I was part of creating the agenda. It was not hidden. It was about quit spending money on citizens that aren't living in the city of Mobile. It's just that simple. Today we have identified the revenues that are going into the police jurisdiction, taking care of citizens who are not paying the same fair tax as our citizens. So when you ride around the underserved areas in our city and you look and you think about what we're doing outside the city, and when you think about, you pick up the phone and you call a policeman and you expect one to be there. Well, no, it's because he sees someone else. So it's been clearly delineated, the opportunity, the dollars, the number of policemen, that could be rolled back into the city, that could become part of the annexation. These are federal dollars. Some are federal, some are the city tax dollars that exist, that are currently being paid. So, public safety. For those who stand there and they say, I have voted for every single public safety issue Mayor Stimson has put forth. Depending on how you vote today, you may not be able to say that in the future. Because without equivocation, without any question, it has been defined that this is a public safety issue that we're addressing. The second thing is, on 5 previous occasions, city councils have allowed the citizens the right to vote on the issue of whether to be annexed or not annexed. The right to vote, I'm going to say, it certainly predates me. There are many in this room who have fought, shed blood, sweat, and tears over that. And so, as an elected official, you're not being asked to make a decision to annex this city. You're exercising your right to give them the right to vote. So, as I leave this podium, I can tell you, I am more excited about the future that we have in this city and some of the things that we have done. But there's some things that we haven't done. And I can tell you that we have identified those, that we will work on those, and one that comes to mind is affordable housing. Yes, we have torn down a lot of housing in the last few years, but we didn't tear it down just because of the neglect of the last 6 years. We tore it down because of neglect that has occurred over the last 4 decades. So I do not have the plan to give you today about replacing the affordable housing in our city. And the reason I mention that is we can't just grow the city from the outside. We have got to grow it from the inside. And think that we can tear down the housing and give someone vouchers to move somewhere else. It's not their neighborhood, where they may not be wanted, don't want to go. That is not the solution that we as Mobilians want. So part of my pledge going forward is to ensure that we address those issues because I know it's of concern. I look forward to your vote, and I'm honored to be your mayor, and I look forward to working with you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Adoption of the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
We probably moved in second. Any discussion?
Yes, sir, I have an amendment I'd like to make, which is to move resolutions number 02984, 02985, and 02986 to the front of the agenda before we hear the appeals.
Been properly moved and second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Resolutions 02984, 985, and 86 declare the public good requires certain territory be brought into the city of Mobile, Challenger Corridor, Airport and Snow Road area, and Kings Branch area.
So moved.
Second.
Properly moved and second. Any discussion?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Richardson?
Mr. President, this morning, our pre-council, we agreed to allow those people who signed in to speak on these issues to speak before the council votes. That's what we agreed this morning. So if we go ahead on and vote on that now, it will be fruitless. We'll let them speak.
Yes, sir. There'll be three on each side.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then we'll hear from Mayor Jones.
Okay.
I imagine you can start calling the names, ma'am.
Okay, you wanted
Yes,
those
ma'am.
that are, four. Okay. First speaker is Danny Patterson.
My name is Danny Patterson. I live at 7500 Quincy Drive in Mobile. I am in the Schillinger Corridor. That's a part of the annexation, proposed annexation. I've been in Mobile 32 years. I moved out to the area only because that's where the realtor took me when I came here from Atlanta, and I thought I was living in Mobile. And come to find out later on that I was actually in the county, but every day I got up and went to work in the city. Every day I went to work in this city. For 32 years, every day I spend money in this city. And so I felt like I was a part of this city. As I said before, I only sleep in Mobile County, only one street over from where the city line is. And so I am for annexation for a lot of reasons, but one of the most important reasons is that I represent 376 homes in the Smithfield-Brentwood Division as the president of the HOA. And I had a little straw poll vote among our members at one of our recent meetings, and every hand went up and said they were for it. And a few years back, when annexation was happening out there, that was not the case. One person did not raise their hand in that meeting, and that person said they had just moved to the subdivision like within the last 2 weeks, and they did not know exactly what was going on. But I say that only to say, not only am I proud to represent that area, but when I first moved out there 32 years ago, I was one of maybe 3 or 4 African Americans in among those 376 homes. And today, I think we must have over 20 or 30 or so in that area now. And I've seen the growth, I've seen the change. And when I got up this morning, after I thank God for just waking me up this morning, because you don't wake up on your own, I realized what it boiled down to me is who said it was either or? Who said it was yes or no? Who said we can't walk and chew gum at the same time? Who said that? I believe that we have an opportunity to grow within and grow without. We can do both things at the same time. We can address the blight, we can address the potholes, we can address the public safety inside the current city limits and expand the city limits to bring in 13,000 more people. I came here, we were number 2 in the state. Now we're number 4. How did that happen? Why do we need to be number 4 in this state? Get a little personal to me, because I don't want to be last of anything. Work too hard, tired, retired 3 times. I'm tired. I want to see something positive happen for our city. There's no reason why we can't do both. There's no reason why we can't do both. Grow within this city. Fix those areas that need to be fixed. Put the money where it needs to go. And then let those outside that want to have a vote to come in. Let them to come in. Why deny the vote to come in? Why deny the vote? They may say no, but we don't know to vote. And I'm one of those that want to stand up and say, let us vote. And you're going to hear both sides. You're going to hear numbers, figures, you're going to hear all that stuff. But the bottom line, I'm living in this, and I've been living in it for 32 years. And when the previous administration wanted to annex, I said, absolutely, let's get behind this, let's support it. And my colleagues out in the area did not go for it. Now I think they want to go for it. Why? They may be nervous, they may be scared, or they may just be excited. I don't know. But let them vote. You control the power to let us vote. And that's all I ask. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
David Cooper.
Why don't you come back and forth instead of having just on one side?
We could. Mr. Cooper, if you could, let's alternate.
Yeah, let's alternate.
Let's alternate. It's a great suggestion from the gentlelady from the 7th District.
I don't want to follow him anyway. That's great.
Good move.
Good move. That's a save for you, Mr. Cooper. Reverend McFarland.
Oh, yeah, right. Reverend Cleveland McFarland.
Cleveland McFarland, pastor of the St. Peter Baptist Church, president of the IMA here in Mobile, to the president of this council, to our mayor, to all of these citizens. Let me just say right off the bat,
Could we get your address, Pastor McFarland?
1525 West Carlisle Drive.
Thank you.
Sister Gregory is my council person. I stand here to say no. Say it right off the bat. If it takes somebody 30-something years to figure out they are not in Mobile, there is a simple remedy: move. That's the way to build the city. We have not dealt with what is wrong, why people are leaving the city. Say we can chew gum, walk at the same time. We wouldn't have to chew gum and walk at the same time if we had done it earlier. We have dilapidated streets, dilapidated homes, broken sidewalks. Brother Smalls showed us a picture of all of the problems that we have that we have not fixed. And now you're saying fix it before you do anything else. And the reason for it is that we learned a few weeks ago that we paid supposed to get $2 million from the folks around. We paid $27 million outside of our city. I am excited now because now we found $27 million that ought to be here in Mobile, fixing our streets, fixing our sidewalks, taking care of the dilapidated buildings. I understand that you can grow from outside, but there's a difference in growing and swelling. Swelling indicates an infection. Growing is when you grow within and you deal with the issue here of why people are leaving the city. They are leaving the city. We have to address that first. There's first things to be first. Address the problems, because we have also city workers who have not gotten a raise, a little raise, hadn't got a raise because they said there was no money. The money was going out the city. Now we can bring the money in the city. And so raises can be done. You can hire more people because trash is still on the streets. That's what we need to be doing. You got to clean up before you bring in. That's what we think. So my vote is no. And when we do what we ought to do, then we could grow. I know we are rushing trying to beat the census, and whenever there is something that is rushed, something is wrong.
David Cooper.
Well, good morning.
Good morning.
By my presence here, I'm sure you know I'm here in favor of annexation. I'm David Cooper. I live at 102 Ryan Avenue. which is in District 1. My proud district council person is my friend Fred Richardson, who has helped us a lot. I also have a lot of properties in District 2. I have about 13 buildings and an apartment downtown. So I'm blessed to have two councilmen that I look to do the right thing. And I can tell you, the news media and all the rumors around Mobile are that the decision's already made, that a few of the councilmen have already made their decision, and there's nothing we can say today that's going to make them change their mind, that they're going to fold under political pressure, and they're going to fold under pressure from some of the best politicians in Mobile and some of the community. But I can tell you, I know my councilmen, and they have courage, and you may think that they can be pushed around, but I can promise you they can't. I've watched them do a lot of things. We had a problem with the public's operation there. We had a lot of local people and neighbors that were against it, but we stood tall with Fred Richardson, and we beat that, and now we've got an unbelievable area in Midtown. So in any event, rather than me going through all the details, you know all the details, I don't need to tell you this. All I know is that you can't push our two someone around. You can't tell them how to vote. I know them well enough to know that they're not going to fold under pressure. So I think you're going to have a few surprises today. So I'm just glad to be a citizen of Mobile. I think y'all do an incredible job. I mean, it's amazing what you do. I've lived here. I've lived in District 1 for 74 years. I've never spoken before because there's never been anything of this importance in my 74 years that will, as the mayor said, it'll be the children and grandchildren that'll benefit from this. So I hope you pray on it, and I know you'll do the right thing.
Reggie Hill.
Mr. President.
Good morning.
Excuse me. Members of the council, to Mayor Stimson, and to the citizens and stakeholders of Mobile, good morning. Reggie Hill, 1007 Center Street. And I just want to say to all the citizens and stakeholders that are here today, it's definitely a pleasure to see everyone here, and I would love to see the same enthusiasm and tenacity about every dollar that is decided upon in this chamber, because it affects the quality of life for all the citizens here in the city of Mobile. I rise today to speak about the annexation, and I must say that this has been an interesting journey these past weeks, Mr. President. We've seen a lot of ideas presented from all sides. I believe totally in divine intervention. And this morning, as I was getting on the elevator to come to the floor to the pre-council meeting, I was able to share the elevator ride with Mr. Wheeler, who stands in favor of bringing this annexation to be. And we were able to share sentiments, I believe, that probably was not discussed amongst the people who are going to be making this very huge decision for our people, and understanding on a personal level and how it affects everybody. So I understand and respect the idea that that community just wants an opportunity to vote. I understand it. I get it. But in the last presentation from our council vice president, we saw that so much has been overlooked. This council often touts as being very bold and courageous. I believe this is an opportunity for this council to be bold enough to put the citizens of Mobile before any ideological justifications. An opportunity to show that we're going to work collectively with an administration that says that we are one Mobile. I mentioned earlier about tenacity and enthusiasm. I wish when other communities presented ideas that needed to be done, this same level of support, same level of regard to getting it to be, making it happen, will have that same effect. Is it going to be one Mobile or one Mobile and others? We have been overlooked entirely too long, Mr. President. We have properties right now in too many communities that need occupancy. If you say that you need services that haven't been provided, there's an opportunity for you to move into those areas. How can we look at the public safety spectrum now, seeing something on the news every single day about things that are happening, with the amount of money that we claim we're putting behind public safety? We'll be stretching our resources even thinner. I feel personally, regardless of what grants may potentially be offered. I also feel that everyone in this chamber is for the growth, vitality, prosperity, and progress of the city of Mobile. But there's an extreme red flag when you run something this close. Something like this is not a CIP idea where we're going to just pave a sidewalk or do a renovation into a recreation facility. This is something that should have been brought to the body months ago. Months ago. We're rushing through this. And if it was brought months ago, when was the public going to be informed about that? So I think as we move forward making decisions like this should be a sign that for something of this importance, it will draw Mobilians to the chamber. Something of this magnitude with these dollars will draw Mobilians and our friends on the outskirts of the city to this chamber. And not to say that we shouldn't be able to do it in some time, because again, all the growth, vitality, prosperity, progress of this city. But when we have other things that are not taken care of right now within the city, that's where our focus needs to be. So again, to those who have come with the idea that this is the best move forward by annexing, I understand your sentiment. I wouldn't want to have those same services provided for me. I understand your sentiment that you have lived and shopped in Mobile for many years. Right now, I would encourage you, however, to support our leaders in fixing those things that still need to be taken up right now. We have too many things that need to be done right now. And if we're going to spend money on something or risk having to spend more resources on something, we need to ensure that it's improving the quality of life of those who are already citizens in Mobile, Alabama. Thank you, Mr. President, for your time to speak, and I hope that you and your colleagues will vote against the annexation.
Elliott Maisel.
Good morning. Thank you for letting me speak. I've never been to a city council meeting before, and it's an honor to be here. Mr. Mayor, Mr. President, and council members. Leadership is a lonely place, isn't it? And I come today as a...
Mr. Maisel, if you could you give us your address for the record,
3378 Moffett Road.
Thank you.
In West Crichton, Mobile, Alabama.
Yes, sir.
I come as somebody who is trying to give back to the city for embracing my family, who came here over 100 years ago, looking for religious freedom, the opportunity to own land, which my ancestors couldn't do, and the right to vote, which they also couldn't do. And it's important. So I determined some years ago that I wanted to help the city, and I asked the mayor if he had the opportunity to put me on the airport authority, and he's done so. So I'm speaking also in favor of this measure, not only as a guy who's born and raised here and raised my family here, that's worked here and built my business here, but that is trying to give back to the city by getting the airport where it ought to be, so if certain people were flying to San Antonio, they wouldn't have to leave 2 hours ahead of time to get to the airport. It only take 10 minutes. That's another topic for another day. This issue, my opinion, this issue comes down to two things. You've heard about it. Our future and our image in the general community and the competition we face and the opportunity to express the desire that in spite of the progress we have to make, to preserve the 7-district, 3-minority supermajority vote for the city council. That has to always remain in place. Always. It's made the difference, and it's made us what I trademarked, the great state of Mobile. There's North Alabama and there's South Alabama, but there's a great state of Mobile. That's who we are. We're the shining light in this state because of that form of government. So the roots of that form of government were born with the idea of a postal worker who in the 50s formed the Nonpartisan Voters League. His name was John J. LaFleur. And he decided he was going to lead his people for the right to vote and to speak up for what was needed. And the first guy he came out and seriously endorsed was a guy named Joe Langan. So go to Unity Point and visit that statue that Mayor Jones arranged for along with the council. And think about it. You don't think they argued or debated or had to make tough decisions or compromise and give and take? Of course they did. You don't think Michael, Senator Figures, and Representative Zogby fought over that bill? It didn't just fall out of the sky. They earned it, and we have to protect it. You don't think that Councilman Richardson and Reggie Copeland argued all those years they led, or Vivian and Bess, or LaVon and Sandy, or Sam and Mike? Of course they did. But this is, I only got one more minute. This is an important decision. I urge you to vote yes. You got to take risks sometimes. So I went looking for a quote this morning, and I may not pronounce this saint's name correctly. He was sainted in the 1500s. He lived in the 1300s. His name was St. Thomas Aquinas.
St. Thomas Aquinas.
Aquinas, thank you. I knew I was going to mess that up. He was an Italian philosopher in the 1300s. What he said was, if the highest aim of a captain were to preserve his ship, he'd just leave it in the port. You're going to sail this ship forward, sail it. We're in a fight. We're in a fight with Pensacola, and we're in a fight with Gulfport. We're in a fight with Huntsville and Birmingham, and we're even in a fight in our own county, other territories. We have to persevere. It's an image thing. I got to go. I urge you to vote yes, and thanks for the opportunity to speak.
Dr. Mac Morris, are you for or against? I'm for. Okay, these are, I'm looking for someone that's against. Richard Weevil.
There's a lady back there.
Oh. Okay. Teresa Bettis.
Good morning to the council.
Morning.
You want to pull the microphone down?
Oh,
Thank you.
I'm sorry, a little short. Teresa Bettis, I am the Executive Director for the Center for Fair Housing here in Mobile. To the council, to the mayor, and to his staff. Here this morning because the center is in opposition of the annexation proposal. This morning, I'm sorry, 602 Bel Air Boulevard, Suite 7, Mobile, Alabama.
Okay, all right.
The annexation is not timely from an affirmatively furthering fair housing perspective. This is absolutely not the time for annexation. Our concern is simple. Impediments and goals currently identified in the city's 2018-2023 assessment of fair housing, as well as previous impediments that have not been addressed. Because of few community development block grant dollars received by the city, given the fact that the city has not maximized its efforts to receive all eligible CDBG dollars, the community development block grant dollars, the center is concerned that those few dollars currently received will be stretched even further. The city has an affordable housing crisis that would be exacerbated by the recently announced displacements of more than 600 households within the Mobile Housing Board's housing developments. The city's affordable housing market simply cannot absorb those households. We get the calls daily. We're being inundated from current residents who do not know where they are going to live. Under the current assessment of fair housing, there are many unmet goals and tasks related to affordable housing here in our city. Among things the city and also county must do to receive those community development block grant funds is to certify on an annual basis that you are taking meaningful steps to address the fair housing issues identified in the fair housing assessment. The annexation proposal runs contrary to addressing the unmet needs and goals and tasks, putting them at risk of becoming lower priorities and/or never to be achieved. There is absolutely nothing wrong with growth. My organization serves all citizens. We have an 8-county service area. But timeliness is the key. The city has a greater obligation to meet the duty to affirmatively further and meet the needs of its current residents and communities. For this reason, I urge the City Council to vote against the annexation proposal at this time. Thank you.
Okay, that's 3 from both sides, and now we'll have former Mayor Mike Dow.
Good morning.
Good morning.
We having fun yet?
Not.
Mike Dow, 1012 Palmetto Street. And I think it's no accident that Mobile has been a very powerful recruiter of business and industry here in this past couple of years in foreign manufacturing, jobs, tax base. And our mayor and council have been united. And the Chamber of Commerce is here today, and a lot of our activity that caused us to unite and become so successful on that economic base was our Chamber of Commerce leaders. Bill Sisson's here today, unable to speak. But our new government was designed and planned to organize and affect unity and growth. It was interesting. Mr. Mays talked about how that was put together, and Michael Figure said, bam, I want all the council to communicate and work together and put that supermajority in there. It was there on a purpose so that we could plan, organize, and affect our growth. And we did that. We fostered and gained inclusion, collaborative strategic plan processes. We gained consensus and shared goals over the last couple of decades. We created public-private partnerships for our plans, the fund execution. We fostered and gained trust in relationships. Always keep an eye on the ball, that economic prosperity of our community. We didn't divide our city by race and partisan politics. And I think all those fundamentals are still there today. We're right there with all that foundation, right there. And I'm very proud of that. And I look at the city council today and all the hard work that you guys do and the mayor and his staff. Why can't we just back up a little bit and communicate a little bit, plan a little bit, and just move on past any hesitation when it comes to growing our city? You're going to have so many problems all the time. In your personal lives, you have things you can't buy, things you can't do. The roof's got a leak, a window pane's broke, and you got to wait to payday to fix it. That's the way life is. There's never a city that has all the money it needs to solve all of its problems at any time. And we're looking right now at going out and becoming the #1 city in our state and having that image at a very critical time in the history of our city. My plea today is for us to have sort of a Jesus moment and to continue to stay on the hard-fought, united, competitive, and productive path that our new government in 1985 was designed to place us on. And I appeal to each of you today that it is only through racial political unity and a single purpose of looking at where we're trying to take this city, what are our goals, what are we trying to accomplish, that we'll continue to gain the global investments we've been able to gain here this past couple of decades. You're not going to find people coming to invest here if we get off track and lose our compass about, what is really important and what's important to grow this city. Having served as mayor for 16 years and served on several dozen nonprofit community boards 40 years, These things are weighing heavily on my mind, and it's crystal clear to me what we need to do to continue to grow and prosper as a city. There's no guesswork whatsoever. And each one of you elected leaders already know what my answer is going to be on the annexation. You already know the right thing to do in this annexation is to give these people an opportunity to vote and to grow our city so that we don't fall up under number 4, all these other cities in the state. That's an image of going down. That's an image of shrinking. And if you look at these other cities like Huntsville, Montgomery, and go outside of our region, they're aggressively annexing. They're annexing and intentionally growing, and people just like this gentleman, a good friend of mine. I've known him for 40 years. He lives right across the city limit, and he thinks he's in Mobile. Give him a chance. Why not? Why not let him come to Mobile? People invest in the image and reality of growth communities, and we have a choice before us. We're either going into a decade 2020 as people, divided in our politics, the 4th largest city, slipping from number 2 when I became mayor in '89, with the continuing image and reality of a shrinking population. And this glaring deficiency will limit and downgrade our city's social, political, and economic opportunities statewide and globally. If you think we can't pay for potholes and raises now, let's just start that little slippy slide that we're going to get in here if we're not careful, okay? Or we can enter the next decade united as a people, united in our politics with a census count that brands us as number 2, only 5,000 people population under Birmingham, labeled as a growing city with a bright future. A city a national investor would want to partner with, like RSA did with their $750 million investment. And I can give you the things that David Bronner was looking at to make that investment. We had to invest in public education. We had to do certain things in order to get his investment. And these big investors who are looking at the Civic Center development, the ones that are looking at riverfront development, the ones that we're bringing in here in secondary suppliers and that kind of stuff, they're looking at us. They're looking at us. I got 1 minute. I'm not used to that. But we all know annexation is the right decision. And I annexed successfully as mayor. Sam Jones annexed successfully as mayor. And we owe it to our city and all of our constituents we represent to help Mayor Stimson annex and place us in Alabama's number 2 position. Both Huntsville and Montgomery have recently annexed aggressively and successfully. Boom, they're past us. You can say people are moving in that city. Well, they are, but that city is also annexing. Maybe one reason they're moving in it. To prove I'm correct, look at Birmingham. They're totally surrounded by dozens of small cities. They've lost 130,000 population here since 1960. There were 340,000 in 6. 2000, there were 242. Today, they're down to 209, and they're still going down. And the tragedy is their metropolitan area around them is $1.1 million. So the decision they made not to aggressively figure out how to annex and grow that city, along with the decision they made to not give Eastern and Delta a new airport that's called Atlanta-Jackson Airport today, those 2 decisions hit that city so hard that they're landlocked now, and they're shrinking. They grow. They've got dozens of cities all around them. So trust me, Mobile will lose its entire jurisdiction to small incorporated entities and suffer a continuing further loss of population and a tax base, as Birmingham has done, if annexation fails. If we make a wrong decision on this annexation, all Mobile citizens in our 7 council districts will suffer those consequences.
Representative Sam Jones.
Sam Jones, 2069 Tucker Street. To President of the Council and to council members, to the mayor, and to all who are gathered today, this is my 26th year in the courthouse. And these fellows I see this morning, I've never seen them in the courthouse. So this is an important issue. When I see David Cooper, Elliot Maysel, half the chamber, even Danny Patterson, and Dale Sawyer all in here at the same time, it reminds me this is an important issue. It's a very important issue. I wish I could take the position that is as simple as I've heard, but it's not. I'm here because I had cause to monitor this discussion for the last several weeks. And for some reason, even though I was completely separate from it, Sam Jones stayed on the table. And I came to 2 council meetings, I shied from that, didn't have a word to say. And when it got to the point where I saw that the information that was being provided was erroneous information, I thought it was time to say something. In other words, I thought you were asking me to come. That's why I'm here. I'm here because this is much larger than what I've heard so far. Annexation is a difficult task. It takes a lot of work, dealing with a lot of people about a lot of different things. And some of the numbers I've read, and you know, after being here for a while, some of that I can just digest that in my head. I don't need a calculator to digest it. If you dealt with budgets in the city for over 8 years, in the county for 18 years, there are some things that just pop up. One that pops up to me is we got 70,000 people in the jurisdiction. Am I right? Is that the number?
That's what we were told.
That's 70,000 people. It costs us $26 million to handle the jurisdiction just with public safety. Am I right on that? $26 million to handle the jurisdiction. If that's the case, it means that, just from my calculation, this area coming in is 19% jurisdiction. Y'all got a lot more CPAs than I got, but 19% of the jurisdiction around that, which is about $4 million. If it takes $4 million to provide public safety, just alone, no public works, no other activities, then it's pretty fair to say we're dealing with $6, $7, maybe $8 million. And then we're going to have $2 million left over for the general budget. I don't buy those figures. I've been here too long and seen much about it, gentlemen, ladies. The other point is that we've got to do this to be the third, well, actually we're third or fourth now, fourth, I guess, city in Alabama in terms of population. We're not going to be the second largest city. I got news for you. We're not going to be the second largest city. But Birmingham is. Huntsville is going to be the largest city in Alabama. That's the fact of the matter.
Right.
The most we can hope to do is stay number 3, unless Montgomery's population changed. While we were losing 2,600 people from 2010 to 2018, Huntsville grew by 12,000 people. if you look at the trend, and this is something we've all struggled with for years, if you look at the trend, we have a constant migration in Mobile. From here to Baldwin County, from here to the county. And why do people go out in the county? It's because that's where they build a big subdivision. That's how you got out there, Dan. That's where they build a subdivision. Why do other people go? Because we got a gentrification going on downtown, and I'm not saying that's bad, but it displaces people. We tore down most of our low-income housing plan to tear down the rest. We haven't replaced hardly of it. So what we give them is a Section 8 voucher, and we are overloaded with those. So people wound up going to the apartments in Chickasaw, Pritchett, out in the county, some other community. In fact, the lady told me the other day down at R.V. Taylor that they were told that, why don't you find another city to use it in? You can use it anywhere. If you want to know why our population migrates, some of it is our fault. And the situation about housing, you know, that's something that concerns me greatly. There's a plan that I have a copy of, the 2020 housing plan that your housing board adopted, that talks about not just demolishing, but developing housing for these folks. I'm surprised I hadn't heard anybody talk about that. I'm very surprised about that. The bottom line is that we are not dealing with real figures. The bottom line is that annexation should take place. Let me go on record as telling you, if I didn't believe in annexation, we wouldn't have had one in the last 30 years. We just wouldn't have had one. I went out and sit in those living rooms. When Danny said he opportunity, I came out there in that subdivision. I went from house to house. I got a schedule in my file that in 1 month, I made 17 different meetings, going to just appeal to people, please come in the city. And what I gave you up there is the 4 areas that we were going to bring into the city. That was our plan. And then I gave you all the demographics on all 4 areas combined. You have that. That's what I passed out to you. In this statement about, well, the council voted for the black folk Sam Jones brought in, that's the furthest thing from the truth. That's not what we presented to the council. What we presented to the council is what you have right there. That's 2007 vintage that you have on the table. So I don't have a problem with us annexing, but let's do it right. If we don't make 200,000 people, we won't get more grants. Now, I particularly have a problem with that, because grants are not guaranteed. When I was here, we got some sometime we didn't. That fire station in Theodore was built with a grant. That's what built that in 2008. If you go back to November 26, 2008, you'll see an article in the top of the press page that said Mobile awarded $1 million for crime prevention at the top of the newspaper. So we do get money. The question is, how do we use it and how effective is it? That's the question. I agree. We got some very hard-working folk in public safety. They're good at grants, but let's relate the grants to the results. That's what grants are about. We don't just get grants to get them. We ought to have a plan to reduce crime, especially violent crime. And I got news for you. We are not going to be the safest city in the United States of America by 3 months from now, which will be 2020. It's just not going to happen. Not from any fault of ours, but it's going to work that way. There's more to it than just that. And somebody mentioned, last time I was here, the elephant in the room. Before I sit down, I'm going to take the elephant out the room. There's nothing wrong with discussing polarization, racial polarization in voting, because it happens every day. That's why we got districts. How did these folks get on the city council? In 1984, wasn't none of them up there. That's why we got districts. So don't shy away from that. Just make sure that we consider that in what we do.
Thank you, Mayor Jones. Your time has elapsed. I think
I knew I wasn't going to have no time. I knew that when I started. I still got a whole lot. But the point is this. Let me just make this last point. We can do this. We can make an annexation work. But first it has to be properly vetted. Everything has to be considered. It ain't just about land, it's about numbers, it ain't just about grants. It's about people. And first, let me also invite you, go ride through the last 2 areas we annexed. If you tell me that they look any different, I'm gonna buy you dinner.
Mr. Jones.
You want me
Mr. Jones.
Can I?
No, sir.
Well, I can't do that.
Let's not get into that.
I can, you know, I don't mind doing that if you.
Yes, sir. No, sir.
Okay.
Mr. Jones, let's.
Anyway, thank you.
Yes, sir. There we go. Madam City Clerk.
That's the 3 for each side and the 2 former mayors.
All right. All right. We've had our period of public commentary. If my memory serves me correctly, we've had a motion and a second. Is there any discussion among members of this great body?
We could all just say no and vote.
I'm not against that. Ms. Gregory suggested we all just decline and vote. Now, I'm not trying to abridge anybody's right to offer anything they'd want to offer.
Well,
Ms. Rich, we just start to
Yes, okay.
left.
District 6. Probably closest geographically to 2 of the areas that are proposed for annexation. And first and foremost, my office was approached by people who want to join our city. That to me is a tremendous compliment to everything, not just a snapshot now, but in general terms. It's a very positive momentum. And we've heard from wonderful speakers, both pro and con. But we're being asked whether this requires a vote, which of course we know it does. And the voting rights of individuals is paramount to a really neat and clean city. And that is because giving people the right to chart their future, because only certain people can be in positions of leadership to speak for them. But again, I moved into Mobile in 1980, so it's a long time to watch the growth, and I've been in the same neighborhood for those 40 years. And I'm on the tip of this area. In 1956, it was annexed in, and the leadership at that time took the leap and said, we're taking them in, and that was west of 65, which is today 65. And we look at are parameters of our economic development. And one of the things I've heard is that there are areas that need attention. All areas need attention. There isn't one area that doesn't need government attention. How you go about that attention depends on leadership in those areas. But it's something where we have neighborhoods that already have the infrastructure, and they look a lot about the same as the developments in the area that I represent. And they have needs, of course. But a lot of times people will do that on their own because they have those resources, and that is very much indicative of that area of town. We basically built up Medal of Honor Park when the city had no resources for capital dollars, and we fundraised and we literally built things in that park by using our ingenuity, our own resources and talents and crafts. So we have given back to the community, and I see that growth as ever so necessary to sustain this city. And I just cannot imagine not voting to allow people who have knocked on our doors to say, we want to be part of you. They are not asking for anything other than to be part of a resource that they already feel connected to, as Danny mentioned, and as others. I meet people all the time when I shop in that Schillinger corridor that is now in our city limits. And people will start telling me about something in the neighborhood, so I take out a pen and I want to help them, or I get out my phone to take a number, and then I discover they don't live in the city. So again, they feel very much a part, they identify, and they should be part of this community, and they will bring a lot to the table. I just am so passionate about this because it really is our future, and we've heard that, and it is not a drain on the system. It's an uplifting, which is a very positive message to send to all Mobilians. So I urge my council colleagues to give people the right to vote on the initiative that they have approached us for. In the past, the city had to go outside and ask if people wanted to join. That's often resisted. This is a group that wants in, yet we do not know what the final vote will be in the 3 areas. We need to give them that right. Our police are already going past most of the neighborhoods that want to come in. We're already servicing that area by having to go to the Walmart, to the Target, and all of the things that are in our corporate limits that were not there until 2008. So those neighborhoods already see our police and our personnel going past them, and it's time to embrace them and allow them to be part of our city. I thank the people that were here in leadership roles past 1956, or my neighborhood wouldn't be in. So again, this is something that is a right, and people are asking, they're asking us to join, and that should be seen as a compliment and a positive. And I hope that my colleagues join me in my enthusiasm to allow people to vote. And yes, we have issues in the city. Everyone has issues. I've been here a long time. I got 9 years off for good behavior, but I've been here since 1993 in a public office. I came back in 2010. I've served each of the mayors, all of the mayors that are present today, and it's been my pleasure to represent the people. We can bring zoning, which is not happening out there. We can bring proper land use to protect people's neighborhoods. There's really a lot of reasons to join our city, and that group senses it, and I'm proud to say that I support their efforts and hope that they are given that opportunity, and this is benchmark time for us. And so please, council, you are empowered. We make tremendous decisions every time we're up here that impact the quality of life of citizens in our area. And this group wants to be not only in our area, but they really want to have a seat at the table, and we owe them that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. One thing I have not heard is the formula for successful annexation. Because if you don't know the formula for successful annexation, you can ruin this city. So I'm going to give you the formula. Been on this council for 23 years, and my degree was in political science and government. The revenue generated in the area that we're trying to annex must be commensurate to what it would cost to service it.
There's something saying they cannot hear you.
The revenue generated in the annex area must be commensurate with the amount of money it's going to take to service them. When I say service them, the 4 core services: police, fire, trash, and garbage. You must collect enough money out of that area to pay for police, fire, trash, and garbage. If not, they're going to take you down. I voted for annexation in 2007. Not only did we get enough money to service them, we got enough money to save the city when it started going down in 2008 and 2009. I recently voted for annexation. How long have you been invested in your district?
I lived there since 1990.
No, we just annexed the area in your district.
Oh, that was, they petitioned us at 100%. That was last spring.
Last spring. We just annexed the area in District 6. I voted for it because the money that was generated in that area was commensurate with what it would take for the city to service it. Now, I am just amazed that you got my friends here, David Cooper, Eddie Mazier, Michael C. Dow. Now, Mike, I want to apply this formula to the Maritime Museum. I want to let the Maritime Museum be like annexation. Museum is what we take it in, what we claim we take it in our jurisdiction. But the money we are collecting was not commensurate with what it would cost to service it. So we locked the doors. We shut it down and put it on welfare. That is, I want the city to give us a check. We can't collect enough money at the door to run this Maritime Museum. We got to lock that door. You know what they told us when we built the Maritime Museum? Oh, we're gonna get grants. What they tell us now, we're gonna have money for it all out of our ears. Lock the door. Didn't make enough money to keep it open. Unless we can collect enough money out there to provide the services that we're gonna have to render to them, it's gonna be an albatross around our neck, and you all know it. I guarantee you, none of you businessmen will buy a business that's going to cost you $27 million to service that business area, and you're not going to make but $2 million a year off it. If it is, you're trying to write it off for taxes or something. It doesn't make good sense. It's all, we have seen this. We have seen this. Get on Highway 45 and preach it. And you drive all the way to 158 in Mayoral, 158 cross Highway 45, and keep going until you get a few miles from Citronelle. You still letting Pritchett. The whole budget for the city for $10 million. They had no revenue. They kept taking in area, and became an albatross around their throat because they don't have no revenue. There's no revenue in that area, $2.2 million. The $27 million, we have not added trash and garbage. You're up around $40 million now. Trash and garbage. Got to buy new trucks, new fire trucks. I am not opposed to annexation. I'm opposed to to us trying to annex, and it's not going to be to the benefit of the city. Now, in terms of beautiful neighborhoods, I put those neighborhoods up against any neighborhoods. Only 7% of our revenue comes from ad valorem. They pay high taxes out there. It's not coming to us. We don't make no money off that. Retail. So we're going to make our money from business license. How we going to make our money? Ain't but $2.2 million left out there. And it's not going to service that area. Well, maybe now we going to get enough federal grants to make up the difference. We were told this money, once you get past 200,000 citizens, you're into some big money now. I checked with the police chief in Birmingham. Police chief in Birmingham last year received $954,000 in federal grants. 210,000 people. What happened to the big money? Because we need big money now, because we're going to take these people in and there's no revenue. We got to have some big money. So I checked with New Orleans. Population of 391,000 people, more than twice the size of the city of Mobile. Last year, New Orleans got $4,130,305. Where is the big money? Because we got to have more than 2.2 now. You already know that. We must have more than 2.2. It's not out there. We're not going to get it in grant. Former Mayor Jones is right. You apply for grants, you could get them, but you would not use them for operation. You can't get no grant to pick up no garbage. You can't get no grant to pick up no trash. You can't get any grant money to run your city. We were told that Mobile received $9 million last year in grants. Normally, when I look at the grants from Birmingham and New Orleans, most of that grant money came to public safety. Big money means big crime. We get all this money because we got a bad crime problem. 5 died in the last 5 days. That's why they keep giving us big money, because we have not gotten a grip on crime. And they're going to keep on giving us that until we get a grip on crime. But it's not going to pick up any garbage or any trash. And let me just say, I was taught this, that if the premise is false, the conclusion is false. If we operate on the premise that we're going to get big money coming down from the federal government, I have a seat in these other cities. If that's false, the conclusion is false. I don't see it. I don't see us getting no more than what we're getting now. I don't have no evidence. I done got big cities, almost 400,000 people in it, and they just got $4 million. We're not going to be able to get that. But former Mayor Jones and some of the other ones said what the real issue is we're losing 7 people per year, and we are helping them to go. We are assisting them in leaving our city. We have leveled Josephine Allen. We have leveled Roger Williams. We are leveling Budville. We have nowhere for those people to go, and we are sending them somewhere else. I hope you got a copy of today's agenda. Look at the number of houses we're going to demolish this week. Look at every week they're on there. We're not, do you know where a brand new house is being built in the inner city? I don't know. I know there's no subdivision being built. We got to do something about that. It's some things we can do something about. Let me say this. If every person in the proposed annexed area looked just like me, my vote would be the same. If every person in that jurisdiction looked like me, how they look out there has nothing to do with my vote. It's the formula that how much money is going to take to service them must be equal to how much you're going to collect. Common sense. You don't need no calculator to figure that out. So my vote is going to be no, and it's going to be based on the fact that the money we're taking in will not service us. That means the city's going to have to take money from District 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 to serve this group. If we think we're doing bad now, we think we got drainage problems, we think we got potholes, holes in the street, dilapidated houses, you wait until we take the money that we currently using and have to service the new area we annex. Being big is not good all the time. Trying to be bigger than something. We got Charleston, South Carolina, one of the top cities in the nation, less than the size of the city of Mobile. Out of Georgia, 14.5 million visitors last year. We took in 3 million visitors. They 14.5 visitors last year, and they are less than the size of the city of Mobile. We don't have to be big to be better. So I think we're going to have to focus on the inside. If businesses come out there, more revenue is out there, you call my name, I'll be ready to spring. Thank you.
Mr. Davis. Thank you, Mr. President. With this vote, as with all others, I ask myself what's in the best interest of all of the citizens of Mobile, not just those in District 5, not just those of a particular ethnicity, not just those of a particular economic condition, but what is best for all citizens of Mobile. The analysis submitted by the mayor was that these annexations would provide net new income, new revenues minus new expenses of $1.5 million in the first full fiscal year after annexation, and ending in year 5 over $2.2 million in incremental additional annual revenues. There has been no credible evidence offered disputing these figures. There have been opinions, but there has been no evidence offered disputing these figures. In addition, the annexations are very likely to increase the city's population. There's no guarantee, but very likely to increase the city's population to over 200,000, putting it in line for additional federal grants of between $5 million and $1 million annually. We got a very detailed booklet from the public safety director setting out the data of why this is correct. There has been no credible evidence to contradict what's in this book. Opinion, but no evidence. These grants could be used for public safety, youth programs, housing, and transportation. Now, those opposing these annexations say that we need to take care of our existing neighborhoods and citizens before taking in new neighborhoods and citizens. And while that sentiment certainly makes a nice soundbite, not one of them have said where the funding would come from to make the existing neighborhoods better. The mayor's plan offers a path towards increased city funding which might benefit all neighborhoods. The opponents offer no plan. The fact is that while the city population has remained stagnant for over the past 50 years, the areas outside the city have grown rapidly in population. Without annexations, the possibility, perhaps even the likelihood, is that the city's tax base and population will decline and that it will be increasingly difficult to provide the same level of services we currently provide to our citizens, let alone improve those services. Today, we have the opportunity to secure a bright future for all of our citizens, those in the city now and those who may come here in the future. Let us today grasp this opportunity. I will vote in favor of giving the people the right to vote on their annexation. Thank you.
Vice President Small.
A hard act to follow. I made a presentation a couple weeks ago in council meeting of my thoughts on annexation, and today still remain the same. But a couple questions I'd like to, just to throw out. And one thing is I'm glad that, Downtown Alliance is present on this morning. Ms. Kara Hunter, good to see you. But I have a question on Ms. Kara Hunter, if you can throw it back to me. We know that New Year's Eve is coming up, and we expecting a big show downtown Mobile for the moon pie drop. How long you all been planning on that?
We start in March of this year.
March. Thank you so much. And what I'm getting at is that we knew a long time ago that the 2020 census was coming up. Why did we just start in the middle of October versus, in March or last year on this time? There's on a website, on Fitz Mobile website, it states that the city is $250 million backlog on broken infrastructure. When my colleagues have stated that every district in the city needs attention, I need to add on more to that, to what my colleague has stated. Some areas, some districts in the city need more attention than other areas. My colleague also stated this morning that she goes into the grocery store and people come to her with complaints and talk about this and that, and she pull out a pen and a paper to write it down, their address, and find out that they don't live in the city, but they abut the city. So if she's getting complaints in the grocery store about issues and infrastructure problems already, that's in the county. I'm sorry. In the county already, then if the city go ahead and annex, want that $250 million, we'll go ahead and grow more in backlog of infrastructure. Someone had made a statement this morning as far as in public safety issues. A vote against annexation is a vote against public safety. That the council has always stated that they never voted anything against public safety. Well, the council, from my understanding, also never voted anything against infrastructure either. I believe that if my yes vote today is for annexation, that's a no vote against infrastructure problems that's in District 3 that is already broken up. If we already have a little resources here and we expand our boundary lines, our resources is going to get thinner. The question is that why would I add on more or addition to my house, and if my bathroom is already leaking, the faucet is already broken? Why would I add more addition to my house and my house is already broken? And that's the question that I have for the city. Why would we go ahead and add on and we already have broken construction problems into the city? People say it's a black and white thing. It's not a black and white thing in my opinion. In my opinion, it's a rich, middle class, and poor. My colleague stated this morning that, it takes the leaderships in those areas to help move those districts. They're not, they're not asking now, but they will be asking when they come, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Well, my thing about that is those people in those different areas of town are able to afford to go ahead and do parks and add different infrastructure, different things in their district. While there are people that I represent, a lot of people that I represent cannot afford to go ahead and invest into the parks, invest into different infrastructures in District 3. I have represented a lot of people that barely pay their power bill, they barely pay their rent, they even barely pay for medication. And you're talking about investing into parks. One of my colleagues had stated this morning, that opponents, came down and talk about this and that, but they never came up with a conclusion of what can be done or where the money can be found at. Well, when the people that I represent, District 3, when they go to the polls, they voted for a council person and they voted for the mayor. So that's up to the council person, the mayor, to go ahead and hire a finance director. The finance director, that's his job to go out and find the money to where to place or fix those infrastructure problems and et cetera. The city, someone stated earlier as far as in, where the money gonna come from, what additional money, or how are we gonna do with the additional money that's coming in with the different grants and et cetera. Well, what are we doing with the money now? We have $63 million in surplus money just sitting in the bank. But yet, I have broken infrastructures all throughout District 3. But it's not being spent. I had a conversation in the past 2 weeks with two individual people, and they stated, CJ, what can be done to get a yes vote from you? And my response back to them was, give District 3, not CJ, but give District 3 $20 million and write into the city of Mobile in their name, in the fourth section, put District 3, for I can go ahead and fix the broken infrastructures and issues that District 3 have. Because you all are not getting the phone calls when grass is not cut. You are not getting the phone calls when sidewalks is not fixed. You are not getting the phone calls and when, different things is going on in the district and in the parks. When BC Rain try to play at Tramiel Park and the bathrooms are down. You are not getting the phone calls about that. I'm the one who's getting the phone calls. My no vote is to get attention for the things that is needed in District 3. My vote is going to continue to be no. Now, my colleagues had stated earlier that there was an annexation in the spring of the year. Yes, it was. I heard some news media say that no council person has now voted no against annexation. Yes, it have. That information is incorrect. Because in the spring, I was the only council person to vote no. And the reason why is the reason today. Because District 3 lack of infrastructure issue that is going on is got too much infrastructure problems that are going on in District 3 at this current time that is not really just being addressed. And again, I screamed no in the spring, I would scream no in the fall. Now, someone has stated to me, you're against Mobile growing. You don't want Mobile to grow. That's the biggest tell ever. Because I had spent a lot of money out of my personal pocket in trying to advance the enjoyment of District 3. But the thing about it is that I'm not trying to get Mobile to stop growing. I'm trying to get Mobile to grow and have people to come into the city. And we understand that the chamber here, understand that the former mayors are here, different people are here in Alport and et cetera. And, I had never been public and say that I'm for the Alport against the Alport. But if the whole Alport moved downtown and someone leaving the Riverview Plaza going towards Brooklyn Field to the Alport, and they come on down Broad Street, and what if they get lost and make a right Baltimore Street? How is that growing deal? That's going to show what Mobile really got in their closets. What if they make a left on Washington Avenue? What they going to look at? Look was in our community. Come off the hill and come down to the valley and just see what's going on. Let's see and take care of our own community. You know, we have people that I represent already feel like that they're second and third class citizen to people out in West Mobile. And again, it's not a black and white thing because I have blacks that's like that and I also have whites that's like that. But again, we going to the chamber, we going towards Brookfield, how are you going to take them to Brookfield without them seeing the undesirable areas? You know, Small, you should fix it up, you should fix it up, you should fix it up. Guess what? Small can't do nothing but doing what he's doing now, is advocating. Because the law forbid me to tell any city worker what to do. I don't know how to fix no pothole. All thing I can do is vote yes, and when the mayor put it in front of me and said, fix the pothole. I can't go and take down no drug house. Administration job. All thing I can do is advocate. And what I'm doing today, what I'm doing right now, is advocating for the citizens of District 3. You know, one of the most hurtful things that I have experienced during this situation is seeing where a presentation was up here talking about DIP getting a new precinct, or DIP precinct rather, you know, one day, and the next day in the mailbox, there's some flyers talking about a new precinct. The talks about a precinct going on DIP was back in the summer. And for one group of people on one day, the next day, another group of people put in the mailbox, that sit well right with me. And to me, rushing this situation, besides bringing this situation back into March, talking about it'll be more grants, more funding, why just the middle of October? Why at the end of October? You know, one more thing, I'm gonna be quiet. You know, I heard this word, plans. What's the plans? What's the plans? Besides just more grant money, we already got a surplus of money and we ain't doing nothing well. What's the plan? What's the plans of putting a Boys and Girls Club on a nice building on DIP? What's the plans? What's the plans of putting a recreation center on DIP for the Boys and Girls Club? What's the plans? What's the plans for the senior center on DIP? What's the plans? Yes, the council had passed or exceeded the 1 cent sales tax for the last couple of years. But what CJ had to do was take a majority of his CIP, put it on Ann Street. CJ had to take majority of his money and put it towards on Baltimore Street. I still haven't even touched all the parks, the sidewalks, like my good gracious, you call on the other end. District 3 had not experienced that. So as long as I believe that I scream no and say give this some attention, I believe they're not doing the right thing, and the people that I represent believe they're not doing the right thing. And again, my vote was no in the spring, my vote is no today, and I'm not saying that my vote next spring will be no. Only thing I'm asking for is a plan, and let's go forth and make the whole, not just parts of the city better, but the whole city better at large. And not asking for an A, but at least a C in the area. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. President and Mr. Vice President, for your words. And I want to, before I move any further, to at least recognize all of our elected officials who are here today. We've heard from our 2 mayors, and it's great to see both of these mayors here. I had the opportunity to work for one mayor, Mayor Dow, and with another mayor, Mayor Jones, who is now our state representative. Thank you for continuing your service. And of course, to Mayor Dow, your commitment to working for the city of Mobile and all the many boards that you are now a part of, and also, of course, with Gulf Quest. And I know with you behind it, great things will be happening even more so than they are now. We also have some other elected officials in the audience, and I hope I don't miss anybody, but I know I see Representative Drummond, who also used to be on the executive staff here at the city, and Commissioner Hudson, who used to be a city councilman. We served with her. And who else? And of course, Commissioner Battles. I saw him earlier. He's up, okay. There he is. Hard to miss in his bright colors. thank you all for being here today. This is a very important issue that we have all heard a whole lot about, and many of you here in the audience have also heard all of this and more, and you're probably ready to vote, and let's move on. I hear from my council president over there that he is definitely ready. And, and I want to say something about Mr. Manzi. He unfortunately has been targeted as the swing voter in this. I've been in the swing voter before, and it's not a pleasant place to be in. It certainly doesn't have anything to do with swinging, I can tell you that. It is a pressure point for people on both sides are coming to you and saying that you are the vote. You are the one who will make the decision. And while it could be true, I don't know, we haven't voted yet, but him having that kind of pressure truly is unfair, and I hate that he's had to go through that, but he also has been a good leader in this and agreeing to give us extra time so that the mayor and his administration can put out more information and give more time for people to talk about these very important issues. So I appreciate that. Speaking of our chairs, I also went through annexations with them. One I can remember vividly, when Mike was mayor, we lost, and everybody was distraught. But what Mike said, okay, let's sit down, let's figure out what happened, why we lost, and go forward and see if we can make it better next time. With Sam, we were successful on 2 of them, one in my district, and now I represent that area. And back then, what we did was allow each of these areas the opportunity to vote. It wasn't one for all, it was separate areas, and they all got to vote. Some came in, some didn't. We drew in the retail corridor to one of the areas that looked like would be most likely to agree to come in, and therefore we have a growing city as well as the retail that has come in to cover the expensive, mainly garbage and trash. Those are the things that most people are interested in when they come into garbage and trash. But in Mobile Terrace, of course, we had to do a whole lot more because they had been so neglected for so long. So Mobile Terrace got new drainage, they got dirt roads paved, they got current asphalt roads resurfaced. Did I mention drainage? I think I may have. A new park and a brand new police precinct out at airport. So all of those things were done. And we continue doing maintenance work and infrastructure projects in the terrace today. It's slow moving on some of the blight. We talked about blighted houses this morning at pre-conference. Affordable housing came up. Why are we demolishing all these homes? Because they are a blight on the community. This council has been going full force in trying to rid ourselves of the blight on the community. What it also means, of course, is that people are displaced. That is true. And that's another conversation that has to be had, how to keep people from being displaced from the neighborhoods that they want to live in. I have that happening in my neighborhoods as well. We have homes that need to be demolished, but the people want to stay there. Some of them should not be living in these homes because they're in such deplorable condition, but they want to stay in their neighborhoods. We need to be able to provide that, and the city can work with HUD, with the federal government, whoever, to try to make these things happen. It's very important. I want to thank the residents who have come to us to ask to be in our community. It truly is a compliment that you want to be part of our community, no matter how that conversation started, or why they came to us in the first place, or when exactly happened. Yes, they want EMS, yes, they certainly do, but they already get full police and full fire patrols. It's just they don't pay the same of taxes to get these services. But they are asking to come in and pay full freight. They're not asking to pay half the freight, they're asking to pay full freight, and I think that's important. They're not going to require a bond issue. They're not going to require us to come in and make all of these repairs like we've had to do in the past, and I think that's important. They are move-in ready, basically, to move into the city. They're ready to go. And Bess and I, if all of these, if they're allowed to vote and if they are successful, Bess and I would probably wind up taking in most of those into our districts. Retail shopping areas nearby would, of course, also be part of this annexed area. That's the way it's drawn in. So those revenues would help pay for the garbage and the trash. And then that money that is a net gain would then go into our general fund. I'm not going to go into any of the debate about grants and that sort of thing. We've all heard plenty about that. But if the annexation effort fails, I really believe, and we've heard it from other folks, whether you believe it or not, but I really believe that that could result in the same neighborhoods who are very close to Sims being annexed into why not? They're annexing as we speak. They have fire stations. They have city services. They're growing. They make no bones about the fact that they are trying to grow and they are taking in these neighborhoods. We're already landlocked on one side to the east. We're landlocked to the north. Pretty soon, we're probably going to be landlocked to the west if we don't do something to try to grow our city. I believe allowing the folks who live in these neighborhoods who have come to us the opportunity to vote is very important. It's fundamental. I don't agree with all of my colleagues here on the council about their opinions as to why we should oppose annexation. I don't agree with all the speakers we've heard. But I have to respect their positions, and I hope that they will respect mine. We've heard a lot about grow from within, grow from without, grow from within. I think that's a new little catchphrase. Still, it's true. We do need to grow from within. We need to stop the perception that Mobile is not a good place to live. We've got to have our folks in the chamber, in the realtors, Downtown Alliance, all of you all who live here and work in companies and whatnot. If somebody is coming in here and expanding, we don't need to have your employees who are already living in Mobile tell these folks who are coming and say, oh no, you don't want to live in Mobile. You want to live in Baldwin County, or you want to live out in the county. You don't want to live in Mobile. Sometimes we are our own worst enemies. That has to stop. That will help keep people in the city of Mobile. That and making sure we have housing stock available for people to live. A woman who used to live in my neighborhood emailed me, said she had to move into the county because A, she wanted to be close to Providence Hospital because she was taking care of her elderly parents, needed a house, couldn't find one she could afford that was close and would serve all of her needs. So she moved right outside into the county, and now she's one of the folks who wants to come back into the city. She didn't want to leave the city, but she felt like she didn't have another option. I believe that with the revenue that we get, that is on top of what we have to pay for resources to do the garbage, the trash, and bring EMS back to these areas, we could earmark that for needs that have been talked about. We have hot spots in this city that need attention, from public safety to maintenance to infrastructure. We should be earmarking some of those funds for some of the areas that are hardest hit. Now, yes, I like my $3 million in my district, and I don't want to give it up, neither does anybody else on this council, but we keep that 1 cent sales tax intact because we spread it around. Extra revenues that come in, let's hit those hot spots where it is needed, and I think we all know where they are. But I think there's a way to do this. If this fails today, let's get back together and figure out how to make these things work. I hope it will pass, but if it doesn't, I'm willing to start working toward resolving these issues and finding a way to make Mobile the best it can be by embracing everybody that today.
Mr. Gregory. Mr. Williams.
It's a great day in Mobile, Alabama. It's about economics, it's about politics, it's about everything that has been mentioned and suggested and argued. It is about all of that, and I'll tell you this, that every golden egg that Mayor Dow talked about, that Mayor Jones talked about, and now that Mayor Stimpson's talking about, rarely turns out pure. And the arguments against those and the despair and disaster that will come if you don't, rarely, in fact, never, turn out to be to that degree of despair and disaster. And I trust that regardless of how this turns out, that we'll continue to work and we'll continue to see good times in Mobile as long as we don't get on these mics and talk about how bad things are. We all have bad things going on in our families, in our communities, in this town, and this state. If we choose to sit and dwell on them, they will come true. I used the word over and over and over and over again after I supported Mayor Jones in the last annexation. I supported him in both of them that he proposed to us. And all the things didn't come true, and all the things that people said were going to be a disaster, they didn't come true either, so that's one place we can go back and look. We built a brand new park from a disastrous location. We put in 2 new baseball fields, and despite my opposition, $1 million was spent by the then mayor of Mobile on a beautiful concession stand that cornerstone that park. We put in a playground, a walking trail. We have fixed the drainage in that park. It is an amazing park that once was complete and utter, well, just a disaster. Mayor talked about a fire station, beautiful fire station with a meeting place. We paved and resurfaced roads. We put in street signs and lights. We provided public services. Countless structures that were blighting that neighborhood, that is Theodore, that's the area that I speak of, were eliminated. My friend and president of the council was on the school board at the time, and following all of this, took funds and built a gymnasium, a beautiful structure at Burroughs Elementary School. Jerry Carl with the county commission, this is all a group effort. Worked on a road and a sidewalk leading into that area with CDBG money that was allocated by my office. We covered the sidewalk near the school so the kids didn't have to stand in the rain. All of that way beyond proportion of any other area in our city during its time that these things were done. Promises were kept. And Mayor Jones was a big part of those promises being kept. If there's a promise that wasn't kept, it was because I didn't know about the promise. We keep our promises. Mayor Jones keeps his promises. Mayor Dow keeps his promises, and I know that Sandy Stimpson does the same. So, to my friends, Ruth's Chris or Judy's place, either one would be fine with me. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah. You sure there's no one else who'd like to speak? Ladies and gentlemen, I take the privilege of representing the mighty 2nd District very seriously. And I take being a part of this body and being privileged to be president serious. This is the place I've wanted to be since 12 years old. And now I am here, and with this responsibility comes at times serious decisions. Decisions that will disappoint one faction of the community or other. And I took this responsibility knowing that maybe this day would come, and sure enough, it has arrived. I want to thank everyone who reached out to me to express their perspective, their sentiment, their opinion, be it for or against, be it passive or aggressive, most times more aggressive. I want to thank everyone who's wanted me to know their specific thought, from visits to my home, visits to my church. My neighbor told me the other day he thought he saw a couple of pigeons with messages that they wanted to bring. I get it. This has not been a very comfortable position to be in, but it's a position that I'm well able and well suited to take on. I have analyzed all of the facts, both those facts that have been disputed and those that everyone says are just number one factual. I have listened to all of the dialogue. I have met with everyone who wanted to meet, whether it was breakfast, lunch, or dinner. I got home probably about 1 o'clock last night and walked into this auditorium still hearing someone's perspective. What I've gleaned from the process is this: democracy works. You can put any other type of form of government up against democracy. And I would say loudly and proudly anywhere that what we have here in this country works. Moreover, what we have here in the city of Mobile. Because what Senator Figures, Representative Zogby, and all of those individuals in their infinite wisdom forced us to do is to have dialogue, to not leave anyone out, to not let any majority, simple majority, oppress the minority, and vice versa. So it's working. It's not clean, it may not be efficient, it may take time, but at the end of the day, this works. And the light has fallen on me, I guess, to express my opinion. So I've heard from the business community, gentlemen who I highly respect. I don't want to call the roll because I don't want to miss anybody, but you know who you are. That's probably why you're here. I've heard from waiters and CEOs, and I've also heard from the community at large who had, in many instances, a different perspective. And different perspective that was ginned up in many respects due to erroneous placards, mail cards disseminated in my community. Probably the worst mistake made in all of this is right there. Right in there. Because in many respects, you literally woke up what might have been a sleeping giant. Sometimes when they sleep, you need to let them sleep. And then there are times when they need to be woke up. And I mean that in the vernacular that I said it. Woke up. And so, if it's a 50-50 proposition based on all the facts and emotions, you say, well, how do you make your decision? I'm a fourth-generation Baptist minister. Prayer is a component of my life. I don't run from it. If anybody has an issue with it, go and deal with it in your own manner. But I cannot make these kinds of weighted decisions in and of myself. There is a higher power. I believe in it, and he directs me. Now, I'm not ultra this, that, or the other, but I don't mind admitting to this body that it has taken much prayer in order to sustain the last 2 weeks. Because some of you be real persistent. And so, in light of all that, I've had to come to the realization that I am not here in and of myself. I got here off of the support of the majority of voters who reside in District 2. I'm not here by osmosis. I didn't will myself into this position. It took convincing of those voters to send me here. And I recognize that no matter what decision we make, some are going to be very happy, some are going to be very sad. That's the way the process works. I want to salute those who have shown an interest in coming into the city of Mobile. I want the city to grow. I'm all for growth. But I'm also in favor of growth that's orderly, that's structured, and that everyone who will be impacted has had input in. There are residents in the western sector who have emailed me, one community across from another, wanting to know what is a dime's worth of difference between them getting in and us getting in. Me having the right to vote and them having the right to vote. I don't have those answers. There's citizens in my district who would inquire me asking about their infrastructure projects, need over that need, whether or not the city should be expanding at a time when we're displacing in other respects. I don't have those answers, but I'm happy to hear that the administration is willing to work with us to find the answers. And I believe it's a mixture of all of these things combined that will lead to Mobile being not just a big city, but a great city, an even greater city. In light of that, I'm going to lean on the directives that I've received from the citizens who sent me here to Government Plaza. They are not convinced. They are absolutely not convinced. And it's not black, it's not white, it's not rich, it's not poor. It's a community-wide conversation that I certainly think all of us need to engage in, and I'm certainly willing to do my part. I salute the mayor. I salute him. We have differences of opinion, but we worked hard over the last 6 weeks to resolve many of those. There are going to always be things that we don't always line up in congruency with, but he wants to grow the city. I don't have an issue with that. And I want to work with him to make certain that growth is a goal. But this isn't an initiative that I'm going to support. And so, are there any other commentaries from members of this council? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Opposed.
The items fail. I'm going to, at this time, turn.
You have a proclamation,
Councilman Small.
the proclamation to present?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President.
I'm probably, yeah, 'cause it's going to take them a while to.
Madam Clerk, I'm going to request that we take a 5-minute break, please.
Taking a break?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, Joe.
Y'all be careful.
Miss Fairley. Miss Fairley. All right, Joe. Democracy works.
It is what it is.
That's not all I can say. Look, I'm going to say Travis. Oh, thank you.
Atlanta.
Because I just need
Some
to,
questions about it. I support that.
it'll go back.
What I don't understand is every single time we have a appeal from the planning commission now, they find something wrong with what the planning commission did.
They didn't even look upon it as a cut. I mean, this is
I know, but
yeah.
we can't continue to operate this way where the planning commission says us something and our lawyers say that they didn't follow their rules. We can't do that.
They're just giving.
Someone down here is going to have to go talk to the planning commission, because what we want from the planning commission is stuff that is things where they follow their own
normally
rules.
come to us with. They didn't even cut reviews. That's simple.
I'm not arguing about this.
Yeah. No, I hear what you're saying.
So what y'all willing to do is lay it over with this?
No, if I have 5, if everyone present and their appeals granted, so I would prefer because they don't. You know. I'm going to slide down. If that's
we're all
okay.
here.
Who's supposed to present this property? Who? David?
need 25 people to speak.
What's that?
She wants to move the public hearing on the bid.
Can we just do this appeal quickly? There's two speakers here, I think, on this appeal. They're not.
And we're going to start in 1 minute.
It's already 1:45. Yeah, it's 1:15.
Madam Clerk.
Council Vice President, I think you have a proclamation that you need to present to Mr. Meganson is here.
Yes, it's the American Education.
Yes.
Educators, are they present? Please, come on.
Good morning.
Good morning.
May I say a few words, or?
Of course.
First of all, I'm glad to see that some of y'all stayed. My wife said when I left the house this morning, she said, "Ken," I said, "Yes, ma'am." She said, "Speak slowly, softly, and make it short." And she's always right, so I will. I am president of Mobile Retired Educators Association, and I deeply appreciate y'all being here to present this proclamation today. As a member of the Mobile Retired Educators of Mobile County, we're from Citronelle to Dauphin Island. And when I say educators, that's anything, anybody has anything to do with educating our children, from the bus drivers to the classroom teachers, from the ones who work on the computers to who answer the phone. We also have everybody from University of South Alabama to pre-K, so I very much appreciate their support. We believe in public education, and we know that it's the future hope of our country. Our organization was started 34 years ago. We have 75 local units throughout the state with 23,000 members. In Mobile County, we have about 400 members. We have 3 projects that we really work on. One is Stuff the Bus. Stuff the Bus is a program we started about 4 years ago. Well, we work with about 8,000 homeless children in Mobile County. And y'all talking about needs of the city, our public schools need your support. We also not only have Stuff the Bus, we have Apples, which is acquiring personal products for local educated students. Students just don't need paper, pens, and colors. We work very closely with the school board, Sharon McGee, who's special education director, Pamela Smith, the head nurse, Denise Reamer, the head social worker, and Dr. Kim Walker for counseling and guidance. Our students need everything from clean clothes. They need everything from pencils and papers, but they also need wash rags, shampoo, and soap. They need packaged underwear. They need pull-up, need adult diapers and Depends. So we try to meet that need. But our biggest program that we're really the proudest of is our scholarship program, which was started a number of years ago, back 33 years ago, and we have given out over $65,000 to 91 different students who are interested in going into education, and we're very proud of that. I'm very proud of our profession, and I'd like to thank you for recognizing this week, November the 18th through the 22nd, as American Education Week, and this day, November the 19th, as Retired Educators Day. So thank you for the support of public education, and I ask you to continue to pray and support our public schools. Thank you.
And with that, on behalf of the council, we'd like to present this proclamation to you. And it reads, whereas public education is the foundation of our society and the most critical element in the progress and enlightenment of our state and nation. And whereas the public educators in our education system carry the torch of knowledge, opening doors to the challenge and excitement of learning for countless youth. And whereas because of their deep, abiding love of children, public educators display commitment to their students and dedication to their profession. And whereas Mobile retired public educators have served long career laboring throughout their tenure to educate our city, school children, and whereas retired public educators throughout the city of Mobile are deserving of the highest praise and recognition our city can bestow for devotion to their profession. Now, therefore, we, the members of the Mobile City Council, do hereby proclaim November 18th to the 22nd, 2019 as American Education Week and November 19th as Retired Educators Day in Mobile, and urge all our citizens to join with us in paying tribute to the retired educators done at the City of Mobile, Alabama, this 19th day of November 2019. Thank you so much for your services.
Thank you very, very much. I appreciate that. Can we get a picture real quick? May I do it?
Let's come up here and just take it.
Right here behind you.
Yeah, take it with the whole council.
Oh, well, thank you.
With the whole council.
When y'all get in here, you can't get out. Thank you.
Sorry, y'all. Yeah.
Thanks, y'all.
Here comes Joel. So you hit the quorum. Stand in front.
Thank y'all for putting it. I sure do appreciate y'all very much.
Okay, wonderful. 1, 2. Got a couple. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you. Good to
And
see you.
also some of your friends said, thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Madam Clerk.
I talked to Shayla, and she said she'll get on it. She's
That's why it's in
Madam Clerk.
Thank you.
Okay. Appeals. We have appeal of Scott Jones concerning the Planning Commission's approval of planned unit development for Dawson Apartments, 94 East Drive.
Do we have the appellant?
Good morning.
Morning.
It's good to see you all here this morning. I think this issue gets to the very heart of what we've heard for the last 2 hours. And that is people in Mobile, and there's a reason.
Excuse me, give us your name and your address, please.
Scott Jones, 5958 Shenandoah Road South, right at the corner of East Road, East Drive.
Thank you.
But we've got people leaving Mobile, and the reason they're leaving Mobile is because we're not taking care of the neighborhoods and we're not taking care of the citizens. That's why. I appreciate the opportunity to address you regarding the issue that's troubling our residents, and that is traffic issues. We're gravely concerned due to the traffic that's transiting through our neighborhood to the extent where it's becoming unsafe. There's no one specific reason that's got to this point. It's come from decades of growth that has compounded dramatically in the last 10 to 15 years that's not been adequately addressed and has now gone beyond the point any neighborhood should have to tolerate. The initial concepts of a neighborhood were formalized in the late 1920s and was built on the primary tenet of not having to deal with throughway traffic and creating an environment that was conducive to the community as a whole. Fast forward to the current state, and these neighborhood concepts have been infringed upon by developments which put the value of maximizing land space with multiple family residences or other types of development which have consumed neighborhoods to the detriment of cities as a whole. Cities today such as Dallas, Montreal, Miami, and many others have established neighborhood commissions to ensure that neighborhood concepts remain an integral part of the city development. It's been proven to be crucial to the economic health of the city. We've heard this morning about the city shrinking. One major root cause of that, like I said, is because the city has turned its back on the sanctity of the neighborhood. With regards to our city's planning commission, the concept of protection for neighborhoods does not exist. In our neighborhood, we have been impacted by the growth of South Alabama and the surrounding community. The full-time enrollment numbers for South Alabama in 1980 was 8,000. In 2016, it was 16,699. So in 40 years, the population has doubled. Where are we going to be in the next 40 years? And what's the vision to accommodate that growth? The community has grown consistent with this growth as well. On East Drive, we have 2 churches, one which has a school, and that has daily traffic with 100 parking spots that are full each day. The city recognized this growth by establishing feeder routes into the university area: University Boulevard, Hillcrest Road, Foreman Road, Cody Road, Alverson Road, and Schillingers Road. It's important to note that East Drive, that transit through our neighborhood from Airport Boulevard to Old Shell Road, was never intended to be a throughway. Just this past Tuesday night, the university had a basketball game where over 1,000 fans attended, and we applaud that. If just 10% of those in attendance chose to leave the Mitchell Center, transit through East Road, which is located right at the exit to the center, we would see 100 vehicles transit through our neighborhood. And I would tell you, we did see that. Next year, another major part of the university history changes stadium completion, which will have a capacity of 25,000 seats. Our fear, and I use that word deliberately, is that our simple residential neighborhood is being turned into a metropolitan thoroughfare for students, apartment residents, parishioners, and many others who have no connection to the neighborhood at all, but transit through our residences for convenience sake. Now imagine having your 82-year-old mother try to back out, or your 17-year-old daughter try to back out, or try and play outside with your toddlers or your pets, with that type of traffic going through your neighborhood. We brought these concerns to the Planning Commission, and we were finally heard, but we were ignored. One of the reasons they can ignore us is that no time have they looked at these developments holistically. Rather, they look at each development singularly. So there's no collective group of developments that's ever taken into consideration. If you watch the video of the last Planning Commission meeting, no less than 3 of the commission members acknowledged that we have a major problem, but they all stated it's not their problem to take on. Me and many of others that live in the residence disagree with that based on the fact that they have legal representation, safety council representation, traffic and engineering representation, and many other city representatives that provide input for their decisions on planning and rezoning. If you look at reports presented to them, each of these sections has input for the commission to render planning decisions for the city. I don't know of any other city entity that deals with planning unit developments or zoning issues outside of this council. With regards to our specific issue, the Planning Commission chose to move forward with the developer's request without a PUD. Despite the previous commission's mandate, and despite all of our requests for additional studies to see exactly how much negative impact this would have.
Excuse me, that's time.
It was denied.
Yeah, that's time.
My request is that you send this back to the Planning Commission.
Yeah, you've reached your 5 minutes. Is there any questions or commentary from the council?
No, but we are holding a report from our legal counsel that addresses your appeal. And the idea that it required a PUD and none of the standards were reviewed or submitted as part of the conditions of this development. So I have asked my colleagues to grant your appeal. It'll take all 5 of us that are present in order to see that happen. And it's not a rezoning, it's strictly the development that was clearly articulated at the meeting would have a very negative effect based on what plans were presented to all of you at the time. And that needs to go back to the drawing board. and truly have a PUD that takes into those standards. They're holding some documents that talk about what exactly is part of a plan unit development, and traffic, the impact of traffic should be studied. Building capacity, building spacing and access. We heard from the fire marshal who was present at the meeting that drawings that were submitted were not correct for access to get fire apparatus to that facility, so that meant parking was going to be diminished. Parking is a huge problem in that area, and it shouldn't be on that one corridor street, and that's what this would be looking at if they didn't have adequate parking. So the number of units really has the impact, and that's part of a PUD, and that was never discussed or rendered. So
Correct.
I'm hoping they'll grant the appeal. I think there's someone else that wants to speak to this that
Yes,
also signed the appeal.
There is. We had others, but many left
Yeah.
because of the time of the
Right.
previous issue.
But thank you so much for bringing this to our attention.
Mr. Chairman, if I can make a comment.
Yes, sir.
What started to happen with the last gentleman was he was starting to talk about what the Planning Commission did not do that created this appeal. Because we really don't need to hear the whole case again. What we need to hear is, how did the Planning Commission act arbitrarily or capriciously? That's really the argument that I have to answer here. And so I hope that we'll in this argument. Thank you.
I think when you look at or you a PUD, there are certain standards that the community was ignored.
We need
And
to hear
what
from
the
the
first
public. I
benchmark
agree.
of a PUD is can have no negative effects. And they clearly articulated the negative
Bess, I
effects.
understand. I just want to hear it from the podium so that we know that we're the
Well, I was
appellants
present, too.
are appealing, not you. So
Right.
I'm supportive. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Give us your name, your address,
Todd
please.
LaCour, 600 Shenandoah. Much as my neighbor just mentioned, I mean, I am too seeking that this goes back for a PUD approval, rezoning from the R1 to R3 that was based off of in 1981. East Drive is mayhem. It's much like the commercial. I don't know whether I should laugh or cry every time I drive down it. You know, part of it looks like the county, part of it looks like residential, part of it has blighted homes. You've got patio homes, apartments, places of worship, a tire shop, a restaurant, and a school with no crossing guard. I'm fired up about South Alabama's growth for the city of Mobile. Go Jags, but not at the backs of the residents and 185 folks that live in my neighborhood, and especially specific to this project. And in 3 stories, 36 units, 50 parking spots, you know, 1 for each bedroom. You know, they're going to have visitors, they're going to have family come in, so you're going to have more folks than that. Where are these people going to park? As Bess just mentioned, the fire chief was here at the last meeting. He said, there's no place for this fire truck to turn around. We in the city must figure out a way to maintain the integrity of residential neighborhoods in our city. You know, everything for the past 2 hours that we just addressed, this probably wouldn't have come up if there had been a place 20 to 30 years ago that protected the integrity of our neighborhoods. And that's what this is about. You know, the development of East Drive is fine. We just need to figure out a way to cut us off from it and to protect them. But still, the issue of the PUD is sitting there. I personally have almost been hit 3 times, either by students or people cutting through our neighborhoods. You know, we've witnessed students passing each other on our streets, which is completely, should not be happening in a residential neighborhood with the speed limit of 25 miles an hour. My daughter was almost hitting our bike when a student was texting and driving and the student hit a curb. And this doesn't even include any of the university's growth. The traffic study that was specifically done for this development only considered that development. It didn't include any of the future developments that are coming up, the other apartment complexes, places of worship, or the school. Just that specific building itself. As my neighbor mentioned, the Auburn game the other night for South Alabama, it wasn't 1,000, it was 10,000 folks. We walked from our home to the game, and the police were funneling people straight through East Drive to Airport Boulevard. You know, how do we ensure that that's not going to happen when there's a stadium, which is incredible for our city? It's just not great for my neighborhood. Last week, y'all heard a veterinarian clinic on Spring Hill Avenue. Major difference in that case is that current vet is on Spring Hill Avenue. The current folks going to see the veterinarian are driving down Spring Hill Avenue. This is 50 additional parking spots on East Drive that will funnel through our neighborhood. 2 years ago when the school was built, they did a traffic study on East Drive. Ironically, it was only performed from a Tuesday to a Thursday night, and students were on spring break. So, I mean, we need to figure out and do a quick traffic study for our neighborhood and for this area. We appreciate your time. You know, our focus is to maintain the integrity of our neighborhood. It's a beautiful neighborhood. I was born and raised in that neighborhood. When I moved back to Mobile, my wife and I bought in that neighborhood, and it's sad to see what's happening to it. And we will fight to continue to preserve it and the integrity. We also want to fight for South Alabama because we're excited about that, but we've got to figure out a way to maintain it, for the city to continue to grow, people not to move away, just as we talked about this morning, and also to grow with the university. Thank you.
In the court, I'm there from the council.
No, but just to articulate again, as a planning commissioner, as the person who represents the area where this PUD appeal is coming from, the nature of the planning commission was questioned about it requiring a PUD, and it was opined that it was not necessary. But when you hear these kind of commentaries about the development on that area and the negative effects, by all means, a PUD would have been a really good way to look at how to make this fit in and how to mitigate the problems that we know exist. So that they did not represent it and look at the PUD standards, which were required in 1981. It's never been developed. It's been vacant property all these years. But the needing a PUD altered the zoning map, stayed with the parcel, and a PUD was not rendered. So that's where they were in error, and this appeal should be granted. Thank you.
Do we have any others?
I don't.
Okay. As soon as he finishes, you can come on down. And the hand, these mic.
Dwayne Smith, Anchor Engineering, 50 North Florida Street. By the way, I'm really happy we got some new pavement on Florida Street. So,
okay. Put your mic a little bit up.
Sorry. Basically, at the end of the day, we're the engineering firm representing the owner on the development. All the things we've heard here today are essentially the same things that got rehashed in the planning commission process. The property has the correct zoning. The development actually has 10 more parking spots than required. We meet all the green space requirements. The fire department issue will have to be addressed before any plans get approved. So that, in order for the development to move forward, that will have to be addressed. And we have some parking spots that we can give in creating a turnaround for the fire trucks. So basically where we're at is we feel like we've done everything necessary. We've gone through the whole planning commission process. I'm not hearing anything new that didn't come up in planning commission and addressed at that point. So that's kind of where we're at on it.
Sir,
yeah.
I thank you for coming down and addressing it. A PUD is normally more than one building. It's innovative. It's lots of green space. It's adequate circulation. And there were residents that came down that went for the number one issue when looking at a PUD, and that planning development is, does it have a negative effect on surrounding property? It's not a personal thing with your plans that were submitted or that came up to the planning commission. It's strictly that there are standards and benchmarks that should be met on behalf of citizens, because that's a public body that renders their opinion, and the residents, I believe, based on legal knowledge that the council is holding, did not get a review. And so that's I hear exactly
Yeah.
what you're saying.
Yeah, and it's good to know, it's also information to be known that the traffic issues that's been discussed, we're not saying they're not an issue. However, the city traffic engineer stated in the planning commission meeting, these are not issues created by this development and they're going to be made worse by this development. This is an issue that currently exists within the city, and it's really a separate issue outside of this development.
Right, but we have a neighborhood that's struggling, and that neighborhood should not have to struggle when there's programs in place that could protect them.
Yeah, and PUDs typically are multi-parcel, they're bigger in scale, not a single parcel development.
And that was attached in 1981, and no one present to say what the reason was, other than normally a PUD is more than one building, which would have reduced the number of units that could be possible. And the residents are going off of today's laws that say every bedroom gets a car, gets a parking space because of student living. We just know where the area is located. And this is a lot of stress, and the PUD standards were not adhered to.
Okay. Yeah, as far as we're concerned, we feel like we met our requirements on it. So.
All right, thank you. Yes, ma'am. Your name, your address, please.
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
My name is Diane Howard. I live at 99 East Drive, directly across from the property that we're talking about. I have a history of 40 years living there, and I just have a couple of points to make. More as a neighbor directly involved with what's going on in that area. You've seen me here before for other developments, but my main issue today is the overruling of the PUD that was established back in 1980 to keep this property carefully planned. Now, the property itself is small. I cannot believe 36 units are going to be going in there. I used to know the owner 40 years ago, Mr. Alsop, who was older than I was, so I'm assuming he's gone to his great reward now. But we often talked in the street, and I remember back in 1980 when he applied for 2 duplexes on that property, 2 small duplexes. He came before the commission, and the commission denied that. Purposely put in, of course, back then there was no one there but me and a vacant lot and the apartment next to me. There's been so much growth since then. I want to make just 4 small points about how all this has affected me personally. Number 1, the maintenance, city maintenance on this area, East Drive, has not, in my opinion, met the qualifications for the number of units on that street. And I say that speaking specifically to the water pressure. A lot of the units are apartments, young people, college people. And when I'm in the shower, taking my shower to go to bed, that's prime time for them to take their showers, to go out for the night. So water pressure is very low. I have come out of my shower with shampoo in my hair, literally. So I think that needs to be looked into. I think the upkeep, or whatever one would call it, of the sewer system there needs to be checked. I can give you examples, but I'll spare you because of time, of the times that we had difficulty, especially when it rains, with the sewers system working. All of those complexes on that one mall, probably half-mile only street, and how many apartments are there. I want to speak to the Tuesday night ball game that was just mentioned. The parking up and down East Drive on both sides of the road of people going to the Mitchell Center blocked my driveway. I have serious health issues. I would have hated to have thought that I had to get out of my driveway.
Hey, I'm so sorry, but you reached your 5 minutes there. But thank you so much for coming out today.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else in the audience? Yes. On this appeal? Name and address, please.
Bryson Dawson, and I actually don't live in Mobile anymore. That is, I am developer. I am the developer.
Yes,
Okay, my address is 30760 Pine Court in Spanish Fork. I have other properties in Mobile, one on East Drive there, and one on Cloverdale. Anyway, I bought that property probably 5 years ago in efforts to build a multifamily property. It was owned properly, so normally I would never come up here. It's been an experience being here today, I'll say that. But anyway, I just want to say it's not going to be 36 units. It was only going to be 24, and we would meet all zoning requirements. 24 units. 12 two-bedroom and 12 one-bedroom, which will be in the updated plans. We want to work with the city. You know, the university is growing, and we want to be a part of that. You know, me and my other family members, in essence. So that's really I wanted to say. I don't want to impact anyone's well-being, or if there's any other issues, we would want to work around that. We bought the property, develop it. We want to push forward with the development. We have a lot of financing invested in the property, and that's really all I have to say. Thank you for your time.
Is there any questions or commentary from the council for you?
No, I appreciate you coming down, and because it's still changing, and the fact that it was not this PUD and your willingness to have it come on as a PUD is encouraging. So I would still be in the position to ask all my colleagues present to grant the appeal of the resident hereby on this particular item, and appreciate your support of it.
Do we have anyone else in the audience on this appeal? If not, do I have a motion on the floor to
Grant the appeal.
Second.
That have been moved and second. In the discussion?
Just urge you to support them. And this has to be a message back to the Planning Commission to look at PUDs and make sure they do not have negative effects on surrounding property, and dealing with the traffic, not each individual lot that comes in, but cumulative. Thank you.
Any other discussion? If not, all for?
Aye.
And against?
Ordinance is passed 5-0.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk?
Public hearing today is a public hearing to determine whether the downtown Mobile Business Improvement District should be continued, modified, or terminated.
Do we have anyone to speak on this appeal? I mean, this public hearing, excuse me.
Good afternoon. Jaquita Powell Green, 59 North Florida Street, 36607. Thank you for the pavement. Acting Vice President, City Council members, and staff. As a native Mobilian, I can recall my family traveling downtown for one of two reasons: to visit Gayfer's department store and to attend church. Gayfer's has been long gone from downtown, but our family church will celebrate its 150th anniversary this year, and that's amongst the revitalized downtown. As we know, cities across America are experiencing some decline, and not every city has recovered. Mobile has been purposeful and successful in revitalizing its downtown. First, because of the efforts of Main Street Mobile, now the Downtown Mobile District Management Corporation efforts to attract private investment and the users that support those developments. The return on investment is yielding game-changing effects for our citizens of Mobile. Downtown is now clean and welcoming, with events that attract locals and visitors. The epicenter of where we can focus on local artists or small business startups, local music, and even where hospitality flows. As a business owner with local roots, the buzz of businesses returning and new residents moving to downtown is a very exciting time for us. Measures of the increasing property values also help and are significant indicators that this public-private partnership is working. The intensive daily maintenance of the district by the bid services team, economic development efforts, and general promotion of downtown would vanish without the renewal of the business improvement district. Downtown Mobile is certainly a better place than it was a decade ago, but so are all these other cities we compete with for businesses. We can't afford to go back. We must not grow weary. We must stay the course and continue to improve our beloved city. If Mobile is to be the city we all envision, now is not the time to make the assumption that this momentum can be maintained without the drill master of the bid leading the charge forward and creating even greater quality of life for all citizens. From Beethoven to Bach, Lionel Richie to ZZ Top, the vibrancy of our walk sends a message that the center of our city is the true heart of our region. This is an amazing opportunity that should not be taken lightly. And finally, Jane Jacobs, cities have the capability of providing something for everybody. Only, and only because, and only when they are created by everybody. Thank you, and God bless.
Good morning, Mr. Vice President, City Council members. I'm David Clark. I reside at 412 Dauphin Street in Mobile, Alabama. Also 1 South Water Street in Mobile. My team supports the tourism of the greater Mobile area through Visit Mobile. Almost 3 years ago, I sold my home in Fairhope and moved to live, work, and play in our great city. I sometimes walk to work, walk to church, walk to restaurants, and walk to attractions. I'm an avid jogger and jog all over downtown in the city of Mobile. Every day, I get to see Downtown Alliance bid the team do something to make downtown better and improve quality of lives. Flowers, safety, engagement, vision, passion, innovation, and their leadership is extremely evident. Elizabeth, Carol, and Fred and their team, they do an amazing job, and they're raising the bar for our city and our downtown every day. The last 15 years have been really transformative for our downtown. I'm going to underscore transformative. More residents and businesses are moving back to downtown, and residential and business property values have significantly increased. And just some real quick results from their leadership and from our stakeholders and investors over these many years. Sales per square foot of downtown real estate have doubled since 2004, from $60 to $120 now per square foot. 714 new residential units are in service and under construction. 177 new businesses have evolved, and 44 new restaurants have opened downtown. Regents and stewards, they're busy every day. I see them jogging, they're engaged, and they're so nice and dedicated to what they're doing, and they engage with 8,600 motorists over the last many years, planted 150,000 flowers, weeded 13,000 blocks, and picked up 2 million pounds of trash and leaves. And tourism, my favorite subject. A vibrant downtown is the heartbeat of any city. And last year, 3 million visitors spent $87 million year over year. So it's extraordinary to watch our tremendous downtown thrive, and thanks to the Downtown Alliance bid team. So let's renew the bid so that we can continue our great partnership with the city, the residents, the business, and the visitors. And thank you always for your dedication and for your leadership.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you. Do you have anyone else?
My name is Anna Bush. I live at 20 Bienville Avenue, just outside of Old Dolphin Way District. I have worked in downtown Mobile more than half my life. I remember when pretty much after 5 p.m. you could shoot a cannon down the street and not hit anybody or anything that mattered. It's unbelievable transformation that we've seen. Earlier, the discussion somewhat infuriated me. We were talking about how nobody spends any money in the city, and all we want to do is grab this land or whatever. I want to see the whole pie get bigger, but at the very least, we need to concentrate on the center of our city, of our economic core, of our social core, of our government core. I can't even believe there's a question of whether or not this should be continued. The simple fact that you call the BID when you have a flat tire downtown, to me, is a tremendously good thing, because I work a lot of late hours, and I have actually called upon them, and I've been thrilled that they showed up, even though I didn't have a spare, but they helped me out anyway. I don't really know how. I confess I did not see the modification, but I used to work for a guy who was like, we're not spending on any of this stuff, da da da. He didn't want to contribute. But yet, I noticed they plant flowers in front of their building as well. So I think it's really kind of brought, what do they say, the rising tide lifting all boats. I think everyone has bought into that. And I think that our city has certainly been a beneficiary of it, other things growing, but people come in, they're going to be downtown, they see the flowers. I remember that's one of the things I always loved about Chicago. You're like, you don't think, oh, it's such a big, busy city, but there's so much pride in the civic center. And I think that's what we're seeing manifest with the BID, and I cannot really encourage you enough to support that and to continue to support that. I live, like I said, just outside the historic district. People on my street actually have rented out their homes, helping their housing stock, so that they could go live downtown. They didn't know if they wanted to live downtown forever, but they wanted to give it a shot. It suited their lifestyle. They could rent out their home in Midtown and always have that option to go back. So you basically got, two households for the price of one by encouraging your business district. So I certainly would ask you very much to be in favor. Sorry, my councilman's not here, so I could tell him about my disagreement with him on the other subject. But nonetheless, thank you for your time.
Good afternoon. My name is Kevin Anderson. I live on 300 St. Francis Street, right across from downtown's Bob's Downtown Diner. Great little place. Put a plug in for Tony. I've been a member of the bids for over 5 years now. And when I first came downtown, I got this thing in the mail that said the annual luncheon and meeting is going to be held at the Battle House, and it's $75. I said, I'm a member of a corporation. You can't charge me to go to a meeting. So I brought that up to the corporation, and the corporation changed it. Now the corporation holds their annual meeting on the second floor of the building. Now, how many members are in the bids? Over 400. You can't put 40 people in that room. And it's not ADA compliant. 3 years ago, I brought it up to the chairman of the board, saying we don't have any membership involvement. And I'm a person, we talk about democracy, we talk about principles. Well, it seems to me, the esteemed members of the council, when you look at the intent of the formation of these business districts, you ask the corporation one question. What do the members want? Want it continued? They want it modified? Or do they want it terminated? I have never been asked any of that in 5 years. And so when you go, like, I love democracy, Councilman Manzi, my representative, and I can go to him. I can't do that with that. There's 20 members of the board that sit there, and who do you contact when there's an issue? To me, it's a matter of principle, the way they're doing business. They're intentionally alienating members to not know what it is. Wouldn't you want to know as a councilman, well, what do the members really want? And if you do the modification, you send out, I get 2 notifications. You get, here's your courtesy bill, here's your second courtesy bill, and here's your actual bill, which I don't mind paying, because the guys out there in the purple shirts and the gold shirts, they'll do a great job. I have no problem with what they're doing. I have a problem with the way the corporation does business. I don't feel it's democracy at its best. So I would ask the council, just ask that simple question. Did you ask your members that simple question in what we're here today? Or are we just going to rubber stamp it more because everybody says what a great job they're doing? That's not the point to me. And I brought this out various times. So I'm telling you, because actually a couple years ago, according to bylaws, a city councilman and the mayor can sit on those meetings. The annual meeting, I went to the annual meeting in 2018, I've stopped going, because they declared a quorum for the meeting, and the secretary called in on a cell phone on a conference call and declared we had a quorum. I spent 28 years in the military, retired as a colonel, and I've never seen that in a meeting that was, as far as I'm concerned, it wasn't a valid meeting. So my only point is, I would really ask the city council to someone to ride shotgun on the organization itself. I personally don't mind paying the fees. They call them fees, I call them taxes. I would much rather pay the same amount to the city. And the city, they all become city employees, and then I can go to my councilman and feel I can get some redress on some of the issues. So, thank you very much. That's all I have to say, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Anyone else? If not, that concludes the public hearing on that.
Public hearing today is a public hearing to the structures at 506 Stewart Memorial Street, 508 Stewart Memorial, CME Street, 607 Cedar Avenue, 1148 Michigan Avenue, 1456 Bay Avenue, 1302 Flicker Court, public nuisances, and ordering them demolished.
Do we have anyone here to speak on these public hearings that's before us right now? If you come down and give us your name and address, please.
Good afternoon. My name is Sina Andrew, and I'm here about 607 Cedar Avenue.
Let's give us your residing address.
My residing address is 1900A Clinton Street.
Thank you.
I hate to see the house be tore down. I paid someone in September to go over and clear the lot off for me. Apparently, they took my money and never did the work because I didn't check behind them. But one of my kids went by about a week ago and said that the work had not done. So if you would give me an opportunity to clear the lots off, and then I can start working on the home. But it's a homestead. It's where my father grew up, I grew up, and my children.
So you asking the council to just give you a little bit more time to fix up the home, or?
Yes. Mm-hmm. The first thing I need to do is clear the lot off because it's overgrown.
And which property is this again?
607 Cedar Avenue.
607, that's District 2. Okay. And really, what's before us is to declare the structure as a public nuisance in order it to be demolished. Mr. David? Have you had any contact with the city before today?
I got a letter.
Besides-
I called in to see, when I was up here, because I came twice last week. And I spoke with you on the outside, to see if today was there. But other than that, no.
And yes, we're in favor of granting or tabling this for 30 days so that she'll have time to get a building permit, give us a construction maintenance plan, and start the work. We're definitely in favor of doing that. However, we do have a 120-day time frame, so we couldn't go much beyond 30 days of tabling this, 60 days at the maximum.
So you recommend that we table it for 60 days, or?
We can do that.
60?
So you're saying 30 or 60?
I would prefer 30. That gives us more time to come back and discuss it again. However, we will have a little bit of time if we extend it 60 days.
Okay, because I was just wanting to make sure we understood on the timeline. What you know.
60 days would be very
So we're going to table this for 30 days. In the meantime, you need to go ahead and get your building permit and start working, communicate also with Mr. David Bach and everything.
I will.
And see if you can get his name and number.
607 Cedar Avenue.
Cedar, thank you.
30 will tell us what the progress is.
Right. It's 30 days.
Okay. And also communicate with Mr. David Bach.
I will.
Okay, all right.
Thank you.
Do we have anyone else here in the public hearings? I'm sorry. Okay. Gentlemen, you here for a public, one of the audience we just listed?
No, he signed in this.
No, that's the speaker.
No, just hold on, I'll call. Yeah.
If anyone here for the following address, if not, those public hearings are closed.
Presentation of petitions and other communications to the council.
I'm sorry, Madam Clerk.
Oh, I'm sorry, wait a minute. Public hearing to rezone property located at 5569 Plantation Road, south side of Plantation Road, 210 feet east of US Highway 90 West from R1B3.
Do we have anyone here to speak on behalf on this public hearing? If not, it's closed.
Okay. Presentation of petitions and other communications to the council. Brenda Shank.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Brenda Shank. I live at 5350 Pompano Avenue in Orange Beach. I got thrown into being in the Mobile City court system due to our son getting murdered in this town. It's a sad day when I put 60-something phone calls in to speak to anybody in this, the public safety director, the mayor, involving warrants. I've sat in this court system and watched, and I've notified the prosecutor of outstanding warrants. There's an issue. She should know that. She has the accessibility the same as I do, probably more in depth than me. But a warrant to me should be valid no matter what city it is. We have a person that's been in our court systems down there that holds a warrant in this city since 2011 for domestic violence. But because it's a city warrant, it doesn't show on the NCIC. I've been to the Mobile Police Headquarters down on Government Street. I've been told there's a glitch in the system and that they're working on it. I mean, I've got cases that we're involved in that some of them's got 13 outstanding warrants in this city, and they've been back in this court system, but the warrants were not picked up. A warrant should be listed in the NCIC where every agency has availability to it. Because why does a judge sign a warrant if no other surrounding sister cities can obtain it? I've got documentation from Chief Jay West that could not access it. Also, Clint Harrell at the Satsuma Police, our police chief could not access warrants in this city. I don't understand. A warrant is a warrant. Domestic violence, if that warrant's in this city, that means that person can go get a gun permit because that warrant does not show. I've tried to speak to Mr. James Barber, the public safety director, because that's an issue within this city. I mean, our police chief was an FBI agent here in Mobile. That's ridiculous, they said, that they can't access the warrants within this city police jurisdiction. I mean, I've got a long way in this court system, but I've never seen nothing like it. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for coming down.
Joseph Seymour Jones.
Good afternoon. Joseph Seymour Jones, 1464 St. Stephen's Road, the building, the property tax location, City of Mobile claims, as well as my mother's statement of ownership. By way of citizen, today I have the original purchase document that did not make it to the Revenue Commission. I find that very discrepant for an elderly person to have bought the property on July 25th of 1977 under a what we call a contract, assignment of a contract sale. And I've had legal matters looked into, and this was one of them. And that issue was, where's the track? You have two posted deeds at the Revenue Commission, which is, one of them was 79 November, the other one was November of 81. So what that 81 deed did was take back the legitimacy of my mother's 79 deed. And the city has been out, I've been out here since last July. That's when I got wind of a park for that location. So that being said, and the deed being released to me here recently, I'm in the contract. So that means I have 3 documents. I'm on my way now with the original sale document to the Revenue Commission, because they will honor this document, which actually gives my mother back her footage, and I will have it looked into as to why she was taken advantage of for that breach of contract 4 years later. It has allowed the city to hold this document. She died. I'm sure I could find it in her possessions. But at this point, I consider it an eviction from her address to have to wake up and live with the park. That was decided, from my understanding, and my representative is absent, but it was designed and requested by the community. And the home most affected received no notice, living or dead. And I've tried to make that impression, but what it gave for a 1,500 location, which this has allowed the city to maintain and claim ownership of, and all kind of things even going on with Habitat for Humanity's property. They've managed to keep property, vacant lots attached to this dead woman's land by this form of abuse. And to have a park come in the back of the elderly person, it's really a criminal matter, because the city has required its employees to do a lying-in-wait act. That's not good enough. You had a contract for an ambulance driver on December 18 of 15 after a 20-minute incident in my home with 2 city personnel, the medics, technicians, They got out, down, sitting up into the back of the ambulance. My relative standing at the back. I'm in the driver's seat now. Your contacted driver, who's not a city employee, I don't know what was communicated with the EMTs in the back, but he had control at that point. Where do you want to take her? She had already made it known never to the to Mobile Infirmary. She just didn't like that. And I assure you, they tried to take the lady from me, accusing me of just what I don't know. I had to hire 2 lawyers. It's not that I'm coming to the city, as your employee came up to the lot a couple weeks ago and telling me about the gates going to be placed on Habitat's property. Now, a couple of years ago, they could answer the phone and say they didn't own it. But I got the deed. It's 97. Now they said they gave it to the city. That's a form of collusion and other things against that elderly parent of mine. And I've tried to make it clear that we're going to get into some good name trash out. And I've had it before. I've tried to give you documents to show where I'm not a new rodeo. I know I'm not a Mobilian. I was born in Gaston, Alabama. But I've been raised here. And my family never was really accepted because of whatever reason. My father was a disc jockey. So Mr. Sam Jones spoke at my mother's funeral. Mr. Battles from the school board spoke. They knew my family. But it's concerning that we would receive no notice. And here's the contract deed of purchase that the attorneys have been asking about. I'm trying to hire one. It takes $5,000 to $10,000 to get them going on that. If you expect something to be done in her estate name, that's $5,000 to $10,000. I'm going to use these certified copies to hold my parents' property with the seal on them. And if I take the staple out, they're no good. They are now 3. I'm on my way to the Revenue Commission to give this one over. I'm asking again, if you will communicate with the person seated that respects the neighborhood association so much, they're not registered as a neighborhood organization. I said that before. Regis is registered. Hillsdale want to do a community effort. They're registered. This organization only has a phone number in your office. That should be more credibility. Have them register as a political action committee on behalf of someone in a political position that would bypass the home most affected. We bought there to stay there. She could not do permits over all the years. Jerome Fitzgerald Jones was a Murphy High School football player. He died in that home. No medical attention. Tear Providence Hospital down.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
We don't mind you tearing that hospital down.
Thank you.
They wouldn't.
Thank you so much.
But please. Thank you. I'll give you a copy of that certified.
Gary Miller.
Sure, that's a copy, not the original. Okay.
It is the copy, and I thank you for your time.
All right, thank you.
Good morning.
Morning.
Might be afternoon now, I'm not sure. But my name is Gary Miller. I live at 803 Murphy Avenue, Pritchard, Alabama, 36610. I've come before the council once before, maybe about 5 months ago, speaking on the situation that's going on in Josephine Allen Housing Project in the Happy Hill community. I've been trying to get back in touch with the council. I've spoken with Manzi. He's supposed to send me a letter, let me know the status of when the demolition gonna start, what the city plan on doing. Is it gonna be the housing board, is it gonna be the city? And the people out there, they need some relief from that eyesore with the mold, mildew, just a deteriorated condition with the rodents. And I've come back again because that property been over 5 years. I mean, I know you won't want that in your, looking out your back door or your front door for that matter.
I actually have it, but go ahead.
And so, you know, I just come to find out I'm doing a follow-up. I've called Councilman Manzi's office. I called twice a week for about a month. He finally called me back. I said, well, can you send me a letter so I could pass it on to my constituents what the status of it is relating to the Josephine Allen Housing Project? He never sent me a letter. So I called again twice a week for about another month. He finally got back with me again. You didn't get the letter? I said, no. He said, I'm gonna be sure to send it to you this time. Still haven't received the letter. So I'm here now trying to find out what's the status of, is it gonna be demolished? Or what's gonna happen to the area? Is it gonna be revitalized? And, people out there need some relief from that outsource.
Are you going to respond to him?
Well, either that, or I would call directly over to the Housing Board and ask for Michael Pierce.
Right, yeah,
He's
talk,
the-
Mr.
He's
yeah.
the director.
Mr.
Yeah, I've
Miller,
spoken
Mr.
to
Miller,
the Housing Board.
Mr. Miller,
Pardon
you're
me?
talking to the wrong people.
Yeah.
We got no control over the Josephine Allen project. The people who have the control of it are the people at the Housing Board.
Well, Mr. Mazzy told me that the city had negotiated with some type of contractor on the demolition of Josephine Allen Housing Project.
Do you know anything about that, Mr. Woods?
Yeah, Mr. Doffenbaum might know. You ever went to the Housing Board, period?
Yes, I've been to the Housing Board. I've been to the meeting with the Housing Board before.
Did they say anything to you or answer your questions there?
Well, that's when they had the other president there. She left since then.
Well, you need to go back to the new group.
Yeah, I would like to just go back to the new group and everything, and push the new people that's there.
Well, my concern also is this. The city, don't y'all have ordinance that condemn property?
It's federal property. We can't.
The city attorney.
So you are absolutely talking to the wrong body. You want to talk to the Housing Board. We are assisting with nuisance abatement, but we haven't negotiated anything with anyone at this point. We'll assist. We will be assisting and working with them, but we're not the lead on that. You definitely want to be talking to the folks who are over at the Housing Board. We offer assistance, but we're not the people who give you answers.
Well, it seems like I'm getting a runaround. So it's my second time coming before the council, and I was told the last time I came, it was a gentleman that spoke with me. And we're going to get to the bottom of it and make sure that it's going to be demolished.
Yeah, I advise you just to attend the Housing Board meeting and take your concerns straight back to the Housing Board. And as our city attorney said, the city will assist the Housing Board, but they take the lead charge on what you are speaking of and everything.
But I'll go back to the Housing Board.
Yes, sir.
Because it's definitely also, it's been 5 years that property been sitting there.
Yes, sir.
I mean, if the Housing Board not going to do anything, what the city going to do about finding the Housing Board?
Yeah. Thank you for coming out.
Thank you.
Kenyon Brown, is Mr. Brown still here?
Former U.S. attorney.
Well, good afternoon. It's a long process. I feel for you all. That being said, name is Kenyon Brown, 33624 Boardwalk Drive in Spanish Fort, Alabama. I'm here to state my opposition to the assignment of the contract for the management rights for Hank Aaron Stadium from Ball Corp to the Mobile Sports and Entertainment Group. And the reason why is that because there is a better offer on the table that has more vision in it and has more validity in it than the current assignment. Mr. Tim Bennett is proposed and has proposed, submitted a contract to the city. Just a little bit about him. He is a minor league baseball owner. He established the minor league team in Pearl, Mississippi, outside of Jackson in 2005 at a cost of $27 million to build that stadium, and in 2015 in Biloxi for $36 million. Now, the economic impact on those communities has been tremendous. In Pearl, it's been about $1.5 million positive impact, and in Biloxi, it's a little bit harder to tell because it's newer, but I can tell you that for one event that he has the control of, the Conference USA Baseball Conference Championships, a 5-day event, brought $12 to $15 million of economic impact to the city because they are nationally televised on ESPN. Conceptually speaking, if Mr. Bennett is awarded the contract, that contract is up in 2020, so that would be brought to Mobile. Now, he's sorry that he can't be here today. He's on travel internationally on business. As I said this morning, the few council members and a few members of the mayor's staff were on the phone call with Rick White, the commissioner of the Atlantic Baseball League, which is a AA or AAA level team that has that level of talent that goes on to Major League Baseball. He pledged to place a team in Mobile by 2021. So conceptually, we would start January 1 with occupancy of the stadium and play the summer of 2021. This is a huge boon, or could be a huge boon for the city of Mobile. And why is that? Because the Major League Baseball, and I've provided you an article here that I'll share with you afterwards, is actually contracting the number of teams by 25%. So 40 cities across the country are actually going to lose their team. So the opportunity to get a Major League Baseball team, or I'm sorry, a professional baseball team, minor league team, the window is very short. If we miss this opportunity, it will come around again for generations. Now, that being said, I do have some issues with the existing assignment that is under consideration, namely on page 3 there. They specifically state and articulate that they're deleting any reference to ball club, baseball, professional club. And then in section D on page 3, they specifically state that the city is under no obligation, that the ball club, or the group is under no obligation to place a baseball team there, or to even seek out placing a professional team in Hank Aaron Stadium. Okay, so they want to remove professional sports from Mobile, Alabama. Now, the other part that really gets me on page 4, section D of that tract, it says that while they pay the maintenance and utilities, what they're doing is that the $100,000 in rent that they would pay the city, you can't even use that for what you want. That has to be specifically escrowed for the demolition of Hank Aaron Stadium. What is their true purpose? That's my concern. If they're only earmarking things for demolition and there's no provision in that contract for capital improvements, what's their true aim? I think Mobile can do better. Mr. Bennett's group wants to offer a base rent of $100,000 a year, a 20% cut on outfield signage sales with the limit of $100,000 for that, so that's a possible total of $200,000, plus a $2 service charge on every ticket sold, with 50% to go to capital improvements for the stadium if it's needed. So to me, it's a no-brainer. You lose baseball, you have fireworks and other events at the stadium, but no professional baseball. The true way to honor Hank Aaron is to have professional baseball in our city. I've been to Atlanta. I've talked to the general manager of the Atlanta Braves. That organization is also seriously concerned about what we do. In close, I'll just give you this. This is also a letter from Senator Vivian Davis Figures in opposition to the group and in support of Tim Schmidt, as well as the article about Major League Baseball, minor league baseball shrinking. Thank you.
Is there any questions or commentary? Mr. Brown.
I did miss one thing. Mr. Aaron has rescinded his support for the other group because he did not know they were going to not play baseball in the stadium. He has given his support to us and will be a part owner with our team.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk.
CIP resolutions held over. 211029, authorized contract with Gulf Coast Underground for 2019 Drainage Group E Part A. 211030, approved purchase order to Musco Sport Lighting for field lighting for Matthews Park. 211031, authorized contract with Neil Schaefer for 2019 CIP project Airport Boulevard congestion management design from University Boulevard to Foreman Road.
So moved.
Second.
You've been moving second. Discussion? If not, votes?
Aye.
Aye.
And opposed? 5-0.
Resolutions held over. 011032, authorized sub-recipient agreement with Weeks Bay Foundation in connection with the Mobile Bay Shore Habitat Conservation and Acquisition Initiative. 011033, authorized the master services agreement with Clark Gear Lathington and Associates for optional right-of-way permit application reviews. 131034, authorized change order with Allen Southern Electric Motor Service Inc. for emergency repairs to water and pump at the Mobile Civic Center. 21-1035, authorized contract amendment with Johnson Controls for the fire extinguishers, inspections and maintenance service contract, various city locations. 21-1036, authorized contract with Touchdown Cleaning Services for Mobile Museum of Art window cleaning. 35-1038, approved lease agreement with the River Yacht Bay Marina for the lease of a slip of berth, the MPD marine vessel. And 46-1039, rename Cypress Business Park Drive to Cypress Park Drive.
So moved.
It's been moved and properly second in the discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
And opposed? 5-0.
35-1037, authorize an assignment, assumption, and amendment of lease with Ball Corp. LLC.
I think this was one we decided to lay over 1 week.
Yes.
Layover.
Yeah.
Second.
Moving properly second in the discussion. All in favor to lay over for 1 week?
Aye.
Aye.
And opposed? 5-0.
Ordinance is being introduced for the first time, 64041.
By council rules, this proposed ordinance will lay over 1 week.
Consent resolutions being introduced for the first time, 01-1040 through 60-1053.
Motion to suspend the rules, immediate consideration of resolutions 01-1040 through 60-1053.
With the exception
Of
1040, that's the 607 Cedar Avenue.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
with the
that's 30
exception of
days.
41046.
40, 1046.
No, they said that, 30 days, I'm sorry. That's 30, this one is being laid over for 30 days.
So we're going to bring it up, then lay
Yeah,
it
we'll bring
over.
it up.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Second. Another second?
Yes, second.
Okay. 01-1010, I'm sorry.
We didn't vote to take them up.
Oh, we didn't take,
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
okay.
5-0.
01-1040, authorized agreement with DOT for a traffic impact study and mitigation plan for special events around University of South Alabama campus. 31-1041, authorize a grant application to the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration for the 2020 National Child Traumatic Stress Initiative. 37-1042 and 1043 are recommending approval to the ABC Board for issuance of a retail beer, table wine, off-premises only license for family store on Dauphin Island Parkway, and for issuance of a restaurant retail liquor license for Bistro Courtyard Mobile on West I-65 Service Road. 40-1044, 1045, 1047, 1048, and 1049 are declaring said structures public nuisances and ordering them demolished. 58-1050, 1051 are assessing cost for removal of weeds. 58-1052, the yard surgeons to the list of private contractors to abate properties declared public nuisances. 60-1053, approval award a special bonus to the officer of the month as part of the Mayor's Gift program.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second in the discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
And opposed? 5-0.
40-1046, declare the structure at 607 Cedar Avenue a public nuisance and order it demolished.
Move to lay over 30 days.
Second.
Been properly moved and second in the discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
And opposed? 5-0.
Resolutions being introduced 21-1054 through 60-1056.
By council rules, these proposed resolutions will hold over 1 week.
Announcements.
District 6, Ms. Bess Rich.
I just want to remind people about the upcoming international festival that's was normally held downtown, but will be out at the grounds Saturday for the public. And it's really a great event for families. I'd like to encourage their attendance. Thank you.
District 5, Mr. Joel Daves.
Thank you. I noticed that we are going to be delaying the meeting, the committee meeting we had on the judge compensation, we did have a meeting, we do have a meeting scheduled right now on the real property, the disposition of property owned by the city. I think that there has been general agreement between Ms. Kessler and Ms. Kamanis on a ordinance. I think we would be able to move fairly quickly through the agenda item of that committee, and I want to see how the council feels about going ahead and taking that up immediately when we go upstairs, or 30 minutes later, or delaying it till next week. I just get a sense of what the council wants to do.
Well, no,
I'm not going upstairs.
yeah, Carrie has to be West Mobile by 3 o'clock, you know.
We've got a committee member absent. Isn't Fred on your committee?
Okay, yeah, so we'll just reschedule it.
Probably best.
That's it.
Finish. District 7, Ms. Gina Gregory.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. A couple of things. December 8th will be the annual Christmas on the Hill from 1 until 5. And then December 9th will be my annual Christmas meeting at the Mobile Museum of Art. And of course, informational letters will come out soon with all the details.
All right. And District 4, Mr. John Williams. And I would say my announcement for next week, that we have an announcement from the administration.
Second?
We move properly second. All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned.
What was that all about? Look at this.